Good afternoon, good evening. Regular session, Mayor and City Council meeting, 6 p.m. Wednesday, July 3rd, City Hall Complex. I call this meeting to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Madam Clerk, will you please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. And call to the public, we have 3 speaker forms, no 4. Just to inform who's going to be on the podium, you have 5 minutes to speak your piece or whatever you want to do. You have 5 minutes. We'll start with Keith Rosenblum. State your name and your address, please, for the record on the podium.
My name is Keith Rosenblum. I'm a Tucson resident. I've been a journalist for years, and now I do projects in Arizona and in Mexico, mostly involving the border. And I wanted to put before the City Council just an idea that I have that I believe would help it raise revenues. It's a proposal that I made several months ago to the city manager. It was rejected initially, perhaps because I hadn't gone through it properly. In any event, I contacted City Council Member Melendez, and she suggested that I just come to call to the public. So I'll make it snappy. What I'll do is I'll just leave the council members what my proposal is. But basically, I believe that there's one niche of the merchant community in Nogales, Arizona, that is either underpaying or not paying its due when it comes to the TPT tax. You can ask me how I'm what qualifies me to make that judgment or to have that premise. And I'll just tell you that it's from years of crossing. The types of projects that I do involve expenditures in both countries. Right now, incidentally, I'm working with Mayor Puyol in Nogales, and it's possible that I'll be back here at some point wearing a slightly different hat. There's lots of concerns that he has that Nogales, Arizona shares, and I know that in other forums you'll be dealing with him. Anyway, the object here is just to tell you that I believe that there's one niche, and that it's common practice today for there to be third-party consultants when it comes to helping all sorts of governmental entities to collect taxes. That's everything from irrigation districts to tribes to federal government, state, and this is one of them. And yes, if this was looked fondly upon by the council, it is something that I would profit from. But if it turns out that the premise is wrong and that these merchants are paying everything that they ought, then obviously I don't earn anything, but there's no cost to the city either. That's essentially it. I would leave you the letter that I sent to Dr. Felix the better part of a year ago, along with a kind of a Q&A that I devised, and it would be my hope that you would take a look at it and decide whether it made sense for the city to proceed. I don't know what the mechanism would be for you to approve something like this, but I would certainly meet with Dr. Felix, the mayor, or anyone else. That's it.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Next speaker is Diane, is it McFall? McFall? Yeah? I know you, Diane. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing fine.
Okay.
State your name and your address, please.
My name is Diane McFall, and I live in Rio Rico. And I don't like speaking in front of people. I'm scared, but here we go. Today, I stand here very sad that you might not want to use the trolley for the people of Nogales and tourism. Linda Rushton had a dream that Nogales would have a trolley. The trolley here was here, but it did not work and was in bad shape. It did not stop her. She brought it to us at the Morley Street group. The reality, though, it was Linda that got the donations for local businesses, the Rotary Club, and people like my husband and I who are passionate about Nogales. The trolley has been fixed up, painted, and beautiful murals painted on both sides of it. Had the joy of being in the July 4th parade last year, which everyone loved. The trolley was at the Chubac car show and was a hit. At Easter, my husband and I were on the first official historic tour. We also got our trolley bucks, which gave us a discount to many restaurants in Nogales. Over $300 was raised that day and given to the city. The businesses also gained from using their trolley bucks. Linda paid out of her own money to have this t-shirt made, and Sarah over there designed what is on it. Linda sold all of them that are sold. Linda also gave the money to the city. We had fun that day learning about Nogales and how it used to be. People waved as we went by. Not only that, we went to the wall. On the other two tours that day, the trolley was full of people from out of town. They wanted to see the wall. It is a disgusting thing to see. However, it is there and not going away, so let's turn it around and make money for Nogales by bringing people to see the wall. There are many ways of using the trolley for local activities. Plus, I am looking forward to a tour ending up at a restaurant for a wine tasting. The sky is the limit. Maybe a trolley is new to you. I used to have a tourist business in Scottsdale. We had and still, there is Ollie the Trolley. Been there for 30 years. It is free and it takes tourists around Old Town Scottsdale. And it is also used for other purposes. I have been on the trolley in Boston and also in San Diego. And you just hop on and you get the story as you ride around. Nogales is hurting because of the wall, hurting because of the wire, hurting financially because they are trying to make it so hard to come over the border that our sales tax revenue has gone down, none of which is our fault or your fault. The trolley is a positive for this very special city. It makes people of all ages happy when they see it and when they ride on it. It is just the beginning, and it will grow as more people get to know about it. Remember the field of dreams. If you build it, they will come. So let's build on what we have started with the trolley, and they will come. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dan. Next speaker is Axel Holm. I don't know if 5 minutes is good enough for you, Axel.
Never works.
State your name and your address, please. For the
Axel Holm, 249 West Pajarito Street. And it wasn't west until somebody decided to rearrange everything in the community years ago. And my number went for a very chic 222 to 249. I became a nobody in 24 hours. But I always have been a nobody. I'm unemployed. I don't do anything. But I happen to be very involved in the history of the community. Partly because, well, largely, not partly, because of my parents and my father's business across the street. When all of you drive out of here, you look at that poor old And I do the same thing. I hate to drive down the street and see it in this condition. But what I'm here for primarily is to thank you, Mayor, and Dr. Felix, and Mr. Dillon, who's elsewhere, I guess, for retrieving the letters off the building for me, and my sister. And we're very, very grateful to have those, and hope that maybe there's some day when that property becomes something else, it can be reused. Meanwhile, I hope you give a second thought to how the building can be used. As far as I was concerned, when I saw the article in the Venerable Nogales International, hello, Nick. No, he didn't respond. I thought, it's going to happen. It's time. The Rancho Grande lasted 40 years, 1928 to 1968. So you kind of expect things to go. Of course, I, as a bulletproof human being, expect to be around here another 100 years. Keith just reminded me that I might have some difficulty. But what's happened to me since that came out is I am approached by people all the time, and on Facebook I get endless messages. I've had telephone calls. I haven't had a letter yet. No one pays for stamps anymore, but all wanting to know what I'm going to do to save the building. I said, I don't own the building. I sold it in December of 1987, and I was thrilled. I got a hefty check that was, well, it was in 7 figures. That was a very nice thing to, I solved a problem, a serious family problem. My father had died the year before. We need to do it. So I was glad to be done with it. Now everybody wants me to run around and rescue it. It can be used for a lot of things. It was remodeled in 1988. We went through it fairly extensively. Now I know the code of 1988 probably doesn't match the code of 2019. All I'm suggesting to you is give it another thought, because there is a tremendous amount of support available in this community to do something about it. And isn't it marvelous? Look at the mayor. He manages to keep this very stoic face, not showing what he's thinking. But anyway, I know it's impossible, and it comes down to todo se hace con dinero. And but then we have Dr. Felix here, who is a great grant writer. I don't know, if you need some help, I'll be happy to do it. I've got hundreds of pictures of that place. We've got payroll records of about 2,500 people that worked in that building. I'll be at a Circle K sometime, and there'll be a fellow, and I'll get a tap on the shoulder. Perdone, usted Walter Home. I'll look around. No, señor, era mi papá. Oh, yo trabajé ahí en el 49. And he's still alive. That's always what is the first amazing thing. But this happens to me constantly. All these people come up, and of course there are going to be fewer and fewer. But what's the matter, Marcy? A little too close to home?
Need some help?
Yeah, well, what happens when you're an ex-mayor and a high school principal, by God, life gets tough. But the other thing I want to associate myself with Linda and the trolley.
Is that your next 5 minutes?
She doesn't want to be off her trolley. And so it's a little complicated, but I'm sure you all can work it out. Now, last thing, and then you'll be able to take a breath, Mayor. I'll retire. Is that Dr. Felix, Frank, and I have had some very, very interesting conversations, and we're in the midst of a tour, and I gave him a little history lesson of Nogales, which, by the way, you can't go 50 feet here in town without running into a story. It's just everywhere. It's just jammed together. I would offer my services, such as they are, to give history classes of Nogales to all the employees of the city of Nogales. I enjoy the city employees. I get to talk to them from time to time. Sometimes they're out front, they're here or there, and I always go up and talk to them and find out what's going on. and I like them. But they don't know what happened. They don't know who got murdered 10 feet away. And so, if you want, I'll be happy to sit down, do a slideshow for 1 or 2 or 50, whatever you suggest. Because right now, I'll tell you something, the world is looking at us. And the reason I say that is because I keep getting phone calls and emails from authors, journalists in different parts of the country asking me questions about the border. What's it like being on the border? The first thing I say is, well, first of all, we never used that word. I mean, we didn't say border. Vamos a cruzar la línea. So this border thing is a little bit new. But the last author that was here about a week ago was Jeff Gwynn. He's published 21 books. His publisher is Simon & Schuster in New York, one of the biggest. And they have charged him with the task of writing a book on the border. Here. And so this is coming. I'm going to be in touch with him, and I'm going to be filtering all the information, so I'm going to screen out your prejudices when I talk to him. And there's just a huge amount of interest. There's a spotlight on us right now. It's a little awkward. It's a little awkward to be in the spotlight like that. But let's get out and tell the real story, because you tell the real story of this town, it's absolutely fascinating. It's more fun. It's more fun. It's even kind of fun being as old as I am. You thought I was going to say Marcy, didn't you? But I lived through it. I just lived through a lot of the history. That's what happened. But anyway, if you need some help, I am working, by the way. I work for myself, but I am unemployed, so if you need some help with this outfit, let me know. I'll be happy to teach some classes. And thank you, Mayor. You're always very gracious. It's amazing how you keep up that expression for so long. Thank you.
And you know, you're the only one that I would probably allow to speak 10 minutes. You know, because every time you and I learn something, and I enjoy hearing that. Your history is great. I love it. Thank you, Axel.
Well, my history, I don't know.
No. History of Nogales. Is there anybody else? I don't have another form, but is there anybody else that would like to speak and call to the front? Hearing none? Okay. All right, we'll go to discussion items. A, discussion and direction regarding the city trolley. I placed that agenda item myself. And I placed it because we were all, except for one councilman, we were all in Phoenix at the NMC conference. And while I was over there, I was doing a presentation on economic development and tourism for the city of Nogales. And that's not the only one I did. I also spoke about the border and transportation in another panel. After I finished the presentation, I got an email. And the email basically had a lot of rhetoric that about the trolley. That we weren't funding the trolley, that we were doing away with the trolley, that we were not interested in economic development, that you know, everything. I'm not going to tell you everything, but it was rhetoric. All right? At that moment, I talked to Mr. Kissinger. And I had already done the agenda. Listen, I had already done the agenda for today's date. And I had him contact the clerk because I was going to amend the agenda because I wanted it on a discussion item because I needed to discuss this, and if there's anybody here that wants to get on the podium and discuss it with me, you're welcome to do that. But the trolley isn't going, it's not going anywhere. The trolley's been funded by the city since the day we got it. And just to give you a little bit of history, I'm the one that went to pick it up at Cabot Sedgwick's house. All right? When I became the Public Works Director, I myself went to pick it up. The trolley's been here since then. It's been here for a long time. In the beginning, we were using it a lot. Yes, it stayed at Public Works and it wasn't being kept up, but it was used in a lot of parades and a lot of events. Councilman Lopez can vouch for that because she used it a lot in her events, Christmas parades and everything. We weren't giving tours with it, but we were using it. All right? And when I started asking about what was happening with these emails, because another one came up later on, when I started asking about these emails, I also asked staff to give me information on the trolley. They gave me an agreement. Agreement by Paula and Cabot Sedgwick Family Foundation Repair and Use Agreement. It says repair and use. It doesn't say that the trolley was going to go to a certain person or a certain, it's just repair and use, and it was to follow up every year, September the 14th, that it would renew itself if the city did not decide to do anything with the trolley, it would renew itself. And this agreement states that what was this foundation was going to do. They were going to put tires on it, gas it up, change the oil, do everything. They were going to use it, but in no time it was theirs. It's a city vehicle. It falls under the city fleet. In no time it's theirs. It belongs to the city. And I kept on reading through it, and I was looking and looking and looking. And Linda, I'm sorry, but I never saw your name in this agreement. Nowhere.
No, that
Okay.
agreement was canceled years ago.
No, it's still active. Still
Well,
active.
Tony doesn't think it's still active.
Well, it's still active. I started looking at it and I go, I hope somebody from the foundation is here. Is there somebody from the foundation here?
No,
No? Okay.
Tony is
Yeah.
out of town and he was involved. May I?
No, not yet. Let me finish.
Okay.
And so I went through the whole agreement and I talked to legal about it. And the members of the council have the agreement too. And I asked legal, I said, well, does the trolley belong to the city? And from what I understand, yes, it does. And I also asked legal and about the monies that were collected for the trolley. And I asked Mr. Felix about the money. And I said, did the money come through you or through the finance director? And he said, no. And I said, okay, so when, finance director, so when does the city allow this? Do we have a new policy? And there is no policy that says that we can do this. There is no policy that says that we can advertise on any city vehicle. There is no policy. So I asked, so if anybody gives us money, can we put it on the budget for the trolley and advertise? He said, no, we can't do that. So one of the things I want to know is who authorized the money, who it went to, who received the checks. Did the foundation receive the checks?
What checks?
Did you get $8,000 for the trolley?
Yes,
Two.
and it was, we put it through the Santa Cruz Nature and Heritage Festival so that they could use it as a tax deductible donation. It was then sent over to Jesse Rojas. Mr. Kissinger helped us get Jesse Rojas to do the restoration. And the money that we received for doing the tours went directly here. One day when you were having a council, I gave you $350, handed it right over. So you have it. I think there is some misunderstanding
No,
here.
but no, the misunderstanding. There's no misunderstanding. The thing is that if if somebody's gonna do some work with the city vehicle, we go through
Y'all
a
knew.
procurement process.
You didn't, but the previous council knew. I stood up there multiple times.
Well, see, the previous council should have said policy and should have said, we're gonna do this. Because that's the way things are done.
Okay.
And I've always said we have to be transparent and we have to be accountable for everything.
Yep. I
Okay?
was.
And that didn't happen with the trolley. That's why I'm very concerned about this, and because, you start saying that we're not interested in economic development, that we don't like the trolley and this and that. It's not true.
I
It's
never
not true.
said you don't like the trolley. If you're gonna put words into my mouth, Art, then make sure that they're the right words.
Yeah.
Okay? That's all I ask.
Yeah, okay.
May I?
No,
Are you
wait a
done?
minute, no, I'm not done.
Okay.
And so I asked the city manager all this information, I asked legal. So right now, we have a document that it is still active, from what I understand, because the city never followed up to it. See, the city has to, by itself, the city has to say, you know what, we're gonna change it, or if it doesn't change, on September the 14th, it continues being part of the foundation in the city. So, the good thing about it, that it's September the 14th is around the corner, and we need to set policy on the trolley. We need to make sure that the trolley is used the way it's supposed to be used by you, by the chamber, by Primeria Alta, by any organization, any nonprofit. That's the way it's supposed to be used. Whoever asked for the trolley should be used. But the way I'm going to recommend it, and I'm going to talk to Mr. Massey about this, is that we change some of the verbiage on this agreement. And if the city's going to gas it, the city's going to put oil, I think we should be totally responsible for it.
I agree.
Okay? And,
Completely.
yeah, and we should be totally responsible for it, but the agreement doesn't say that. The agreement says that the foundation is the one that's supposed to do
May I?
that. Yes,
May
wait
I?
a minute. And then, another thing, once we do that, then we can come up with some type of form. Whoever wants to use it can come to the city, sign a form and says, we're gonna use it for this event, that event, or whatever. If it's gonna be used for tourism, for whatever you guys use it, or the Primeria Alta uses it, or whoever, and they're gonna collect money through it, it has to go through finance. That's called
what it did.
accountability.
It did.
It's gotta be accountability, and so that we make sure that all of this is done right, okay? Because certain things, first of all, when I asked about the painting of the trolley, it didn't go through the procurement process, and the amount of it should have gone up for bids, and it never did. So we have a policy for all of that. Linda, it's a city vehicle.
May
No,
I?
go ahead.
Thank you.
I painted it for free. There was no bid. You wouldn't have got a better bid than that.
What was that?
I painted the trolley for free.
No, I'm not talking the trolley. Did you do the artwork, sir?
Yes.
Okay, I'm not talking about the artwork.
Yeah,
I'm talking about painting the trolley.
The Reed.
Yes,
What
yes,
Jesse did.
yes.
All right.
Your amount is not enough for procurement,
Yeah.
okay?
Yeah.
Thank
My
you.
name is Linda Rushton. I live at 269 West Loma Street. We did get bids on it. We got a $30,000 bid from Horn Ford. We got a $15,000 bid from a body shop down the street where the funeral home is, Adair. We went back to them to get that written, and they were out of business. So when I went to Mr. Kissinger, let me backtrack a little bit. We wanted to use the trolley, and I think it was for a parade. And it was sitting out in the Public Works parking lot. And it wouldn't run because the pack rats had eaten the wiring. Now, this is your trolley that you're responsible for, okay? So I called up Tony Sedgwick. And before I could even say, Tony, would you get the trolley fixed? He said, Linda, if you can get that trolley, I'll pay to have it repaired. And he did. He and Aaron and Joe Machado put that agreement together. And it's been at least 2 years, if not 3 years, that agreement has not been in effect anymore. And that was closed, I think, when Aaron was still here. So there is no agreement between the Santa Fe Ranch and the city anymore. It was terminated. Furthermore, the only thing I am asking for, I don't want the trolley. I don't want an agreement. I want the city to step up and take its responsibility. I would like to see $5,000 put in the budget for overtime for a driver. Y'all talk about tourism. I've been attending these city council meetings for almost 10 years now. I've been here. All I hear is economic development, tourism. I've sat on a tourism commission that Art started his first term. Nothing got done. Economic development, for 10 years, you've been talking about economic development. Every single one who's been here that long. Have you done anything? No. So if somebody says, hey, I have an idea. Here's a way we can support downtown businesses and bring people here and use it for Little League. Let's get the trolley going. Let's do something. That's all I'm asking, that you do something. All I want is for you to budget $5,000 for overtime for a CDL driver so that we can do tours of downtown with Axel, with me as tour guides, with Roxy as tour guides, and we will bring the tourists down here. We have been trying for that for a couple of years now. Now, Mr. Mayor said that the 7 of you are now in charge of economic development and tourism. Okay, guys. It's on you. It's real easy. This is not rocket science. You can just budget $5,000 for overtime for a CDL driver. You have CDL drivers already at Public Works. You've got them. I'm sure they would love to have a little overtime. Because when we do tours, it's fun. But there is no agreement between the Santa Fe Ranch anymore. I don't want the trolley. It is your trolley. Your trolley. And I cannot tell you how many times I stood up here in council and talked about getting people to support that trolley so that they would pitch in so it would at least look like something besides a wreck. So now it really looks good. And we could very well paint the championships Little League teams. We've got space for that. We've got space for the championship cheerleaders. You know, that trolley really doesn't belong to you guys. That trolley belongs to the city. And that's everybody here. And every business downtown. I told you guys in that email that with trolley bucks, people spent money here. They spent a lot of money here. Money that they would not be spending without coming down with the trolley. I just want to see Nogales prosper. I don't want it to become a hole like Ashtabula, Ohio, where I'm from. But you're quickly going down that path. Very quickly going down that path. Now, I'm here to answer any questions that you have.
Mayor, I have
Go
some
ahead.
comments.
Go ahead.
First of all, Linda, you mentioned that you've been coming to the council meetings for about 10 years.
Right.
Is that correct?
Yep.
Well, in those 10 years, you should have learned the process.
There is no
And
process.
Hold on, Linda. Let me tell you. No, let me tell you. Okay? First of all, it's a city manager form of government. Is that correct? Now this is why I'm
don't
bringing out.
preach,
Wait, Linda.
okay? Do not preach
No,
to me.
wait. And let me tell you why I'm bringing this up. Because I saw in the memo that you sent out a lot of conversations. Well, in a lot of those conversations, the mayor and the council wasn't necessarily involved in those things. The reason I bring out the city manager form of government and you attending is because there's the man that you should have been talking to. Other than us getting involved, it's micromanagement. Now, if there's a decision to be made, Linda, we would have made a decision. If you wanted, seriously, and I was in the previous council, if you wanted $5,000, believe me, we would have put that in
Don't yell
there.
at me.
No, I'm not yelling at you.
Oh, I
I'm
thought
just,
raised voice was a yell.
that's, if you talk to anyone here, I want to make sure that everybody is hearing what I'm saying. But any of those things, we would have accommodated you, but you never did.
Talk
And
to
I-
Dr.
and
Felix.
hold-
Dr.
well,
Felix knew what was going on.
Ms. Linda.
Kissinger knew what was going on.
That's right. He is the man that's supposed to be knowing what's going
That's
on.
right.
And those things should have been addressed. But I'm saying, if it comes before us, we would have engaged and be involved in that. We were in Phoenix when we saw this information and these emails go, and that I'm sure that's why the mayor was upset a little bit. You were a little bit upset because these things are going on. At the same time, Linda, you're also throwing mud at our faces. And let me pick your memo here.
You go ahead.
All right? Here's the other thing. Someone at the city is using excuses in the book to not bring tourism to Nogales. Why would any of us do that?
Well,
And who are you accusing? Where's the justification for that? For you to accuse someone in the city? Let me
Keep
speak and then you can come back at that. I'm just pointing out your memo that you sent out. The city doesn't mind using it for their personal use now that it looks good. And you're referring that we took the trolley across the border to the consul, who actually made a request. And we're trying to be good ambassadors for the city. The other thing is, but apparently sees no value, again, no value, your words, in using it to promote tourism for the city and local businesses. I can go through this whole memo and I see very demeaning accusations. Apparently, well, and even on this, bringing it before the mayor's the one that brought it. Apparently, they don't believe me. Why wouldn't we believe you?
Why? Because for some reason, the number of times I have stood at this podium and talked about the value of the trolley for tourism, when I say, let's do Saturday tours, you would think that I was asking for the entire, I don't know what. All I want is to see that trolley run down here. You know what one of the excuses was? One of the excuses was that, what if a city employee with a CDL volunteered to drive the trolley and then asked for pay? These are excuses. This is not, as I said, you know, I like keeping things simple. I like the KISS theory. This is not hard. You have a beautiful trolley, and taking it across the line, I really question, because, you know, it's a small community. So I've been told you couldn't get insurance to cross it. And I've been told that for years. You can't get insurance to cross the trolley.
We did get insurance.
Good, I'm glad. But it's a commercial vehicle. It's just not getting your $35 to Don Smith to cross it. So it's a very difficult thing. It's not covered in your insurance, I believe, and I may be speaking out of line, and I'll be glad to say I'm sorry if that's the case. But it needs to be used for the city. It needs to be used for the city. Is it in the 4th of July parade? Not that I know of. And I asked, why isn't it in the 4th of July parade? Why isn't it in the 4th of July parade? It's a city trolley. It looks spiffy. So, I don't know what to tell you. I talked to Kissinger, I talked to Dr. Felix. If they needed to tell me, Linda, you know, you need to go in front of council, that's where I would have gotten it. If they wanted me to go in front of council and talk to you. But I've been up here at least 3 times, I know of, talking to you about the city trolley.
And if you're gonna be involved, Linda, you're gonna continue talking to us.
Absolutely. I will let you know every day. When we came up here from April the 20th tours, Esther was there, Marcy was there, Hector went along for a ride. We gave the city about $350. I presented it to you at that council meeting. What you did with it, that's not my problem. But if we can collect anywhere from $200 to $350 every Saturday, we're paying for the driver's overtime. People want to come. The Green Valley Singles, there are 300 members. And it's my guess we'll get 150 down here. La Posada came down to ride the trolley. They bought 15 lunches at Zula's. The Singles, Green Valley Singles, bought 9 meals at Machi, Marisco, Chihuahua. 18 ice creams at Lorena. So it's a proven. We proved it to you. It works, and you get the money. After this hassle, though, I'm not giving you the profits from the T-shirt anymore. Okay?
Okay, does anybody else have anything else to say?
I have just
Yes.
one thing. Since the very beginning, Linda, it's a city property and it was not supposed to be getting any money out of it.
Well,
It
then
was not even in
somebody
the
should have
contract.
said something.
Well-
Because everybody knew what was going on.
Even though the money apparently is on the accounting, or they don't know what to do with it because the trolley is not a money
Put it
making.
in the bank. If you're so broke that,
Linda, don't start with that.
no,
Don't
okay.
start with that. See, that's that rhetoric. You come in again.
Rhetoric.
Yeah, we're so broke. What, are you saying that because of our budget?
You just cut off the chamber, you cut off the Port
That's
Authority.
that's how you're going out of line. You're
Why
going
am I
out of
going
line.
out of line? It's in the
Because we're not
newspaper.
talking about that. We're talking about the trolley.
Okay, fine.
Keep it to the trolley.
Donations, that's all we asked for. If you wanted to ride the trolley, you donated.
Okay, let's end that discussion.
Mr. Mayor, can I just
Yeah,
say,
go ahead.
you know, our problem with the city, we have no policy on somebody coming to us, you or anybody else or myself, saying, I want to use the city car. There's no policy. What if, let's just say that I decide for the bowling alley, we want to use a trolley? Is that all right?
Check
There's
with
no
the
policy,
city.
there's
No,
no
it's not all
policy.
right.
There's just no policy at all for something like that. For you, and not as a nonprofit, but you have a business. Is that a for-profit business or is it a nonprofit?
Well, my business, of course, it's for profit.
Okay, well,
I mean,
then,
it doesn't make
we
money.
don't have a policy on lending
has
a
nothing-
vehicle. We don't have a policy for lending a vehicle to anybody legitimately, even for a nonprofit. We don't have that policy. We have the Nogales Ride, which is a complete separate situation. But what we're saying here is, we don't have a policy. So, I mean, we would have to come up with a complete policy. Let's just say that somebody wants to get married and they want to use the trolley. I think that's a legit deal. But can we just say, go ahead and take it? No, we can't. We don't have a policy for that. Now, will our insurance cover us if we say, sure, the wedding, go ahead and use it? How about, you know, like you said, the Little League and whatever, everything, we could use it for something like that because the Little League may be related to a nonprofit deal. We may be able to use it. We may be able to fund it, but we don't have a policy. So what we're saying here is, the whole thing, we thought that the Cabot Sedgwick Foundation, we never got a letter saying we're no longer interested. And that's not what the contract says. The contract says it will be in effect as long as the city doesn't cancel it. The city never canceled it. So Tony or anybody from the foundation never came to us and said, look, we're no longer interested in fixing the tires. We're no longer interested in any of this. So it's a surprise to us that you come and you know about the foundation, that they decided to cancel the deal, and you never said a word to us. Did you ever come here and tell us that
Why
the
would
foundation?
I? I'm not connected with them.
Well, you seem to be very interested in the trolley, and you seem to talk to Tony. So how were we supposed to know if Tony never advised
I
us?
talked to you, Nubar.
Yes?
But am I going and saying, oh, Nubar wants to run this thing for the bowling alley? Of course not.
Well, that's what I'm saying. We
It's
have no
not my
policy towards it. We have no
responsibility
policy for you to use it
cancel
for.
the policy, the agreement with the city for the Santa Fe Ranch. I
Well,
know.
we don't have anything to that effect. But all I'm saying is we don't have a policy to lend it to you
I don't want it.
for a profit-making organization.
This is not a profit-making organization. Everything
You
I
just
have
said
done.
that you have a business that's for profit.
Yes, but it's not for the trolley. Everything I have
Hey.
done with
Hey,
this trolley.
hey.
You need to write
Hey.
a policy.
Order,
That's right.
order.
My business has never once entered into this trolley. I have bought Christmas lights for the trolley. I bought T-shirts to sell for the trolley.
Okay, then let's look at getting a policy.
Then
Let's
let's look at
take a
funding
look at
my
something
money.
we can work with, not just anybody comes and says, we want to use a trolley.
Then get busy
Well,
and get a policy.
Linda,
Maybe
that's
that's what
it,
we
the
need.
conversation, that's it. And I'll just read to you this, Linda. This agreement shall be automatically renewed for another 12 months if we don't do anything by September 14th, all right? So we're setting a policy between here and then, and the way that the trolley is gonna be used from now on. And, Mr. Massey, that's the direction I'm
Do
giving you.
you see my name on that anywhere?
I know it's not here, Linda.
Okay, then I'm not
That's why I wish
responsible.
somebody from the foundation would have been here.
Yes.
Well, Tony's out of town.
Thank you very much,
And he'll be back
Linda.
on the 8th.
Thank you
So
very much.
call him.
We're going into B now.
Thank you.
You're welcome. We will set policy on this.
I don't know. Ask the
No,
minister.
no, no, that's it.
Okay. I'll be back on call.
Yes.
So the understanding is that the city is gonna write a policy?
Yes, sir.
Look into the matter?
Yes, sir. That's what we're doing.
That's what we need.
Yes, sir. We're gonna be doing that.
Do we have any idea how long it's going to take to get the
I'll have the
policy done?
city, I'm gonna wait till September 14th because that's the date the agreement is with the foundation.
Then may I suggest you get a hold of Tony?
Oh, don't worry, we'll take care of that.
Okay, thanks.
All right, B, discussion and possible action regarding the recruitment, screening, and hiring of city manager. Do I have a motion on that?
So moved.
Second.
I have a second, okay. All right, discussion. Is there any discussion?
Discussion.
Do we have discussion? Go ahead.
For 3 months, I've asked that this item be placed on the agenda. When I asked for the discussion on this item on the agenda, I had asked that it be placed on the agenda so we could get an idea as a council what we wanted to do. never did we talk about what's listed here, recruiting, screening, and hiring of a city manager. When we hired Dr. Felix, one of the conditions that we placed on him was that we were going to evaluate him. The position that he holds demands that he have an evaluation of how we feel as a council about his professionalism as the chief executive officer of this city. To come here and then say that we're going to go ahead without telling him anything, we're going to start recruiting somebody else. We're just going ahead through this practice of trying to make ourselves and the public not look very professional to the top professional that we have running the city. This is the person that the people of the city of Nogales voted for to run this organization on a day-to-day basis, which was needed. I have been a mayor of this city and a strong form of mayor government, where the mayor made all the decisions on a day-to-day basis on how the city functions, which I thought the mayor doesn't have enough time to do that and hold a full-time job. Dr. Felix deserves an evaluation, and then we should decide what we want to do pending that evaluation. I and 4 members of this council have been with him since we were not exactly extremely well organized, that we asked him to take over that. There has been a lot of trials and tribulations during the last administration. And they weren't pretty either. They weren't pretty at all. Even to contest how our city government should function. What was happening with our elected officials. When a city attorney comes in and says, I want you to resign, tells the city manager that. We were falling apart. And I'm not going to sit here after he has been loyal to us, loyal to the city, loyal to every employee in this room, to conduct a first-class organization. And to be a part right away here to say we're going to go out, let your contract run out, take off, we don't need you anymore. We're recruiting, and we still haven't even discussed who is going to replace him. How are we going to replace him? How is the community going to be involved in the decision-making process? If we're going to treat our employees, especially our city manager, like that, well, I don't care who you're going to go and recruit, but you're not going to get very professional people here to apply here for the city of Nogales. I'm asking the council, especially those of you who were here, let's evaluate the performance of the city manager. He has done a professional job. We don't even know if he wants to stay on or how long he wants to stay on. We've never asked him that. How we came to the conclusion, especially for people who just arrived here and been here just a couple of months, to know, because I've seen some of you, but I've seen you in the audience, not on the diocese. It's not fair to a professional like Dr. Felix that he be treated like this. I'm asking that we consider this motion and call for the evaluation, how we're supposed to do it, evaluate the city manager. If we have some concerns, bring out the concerns. We're going out and saying we're going to go recruit and screen. We haven't even told him what kind of a job he's done. So what's going to prevent somebody else from doing that when we have other people here?
Yes, Mayor?
Well, I'm not quite finished,
Okay.
but do you
Go
have a
ahead.
concern?
Well, yes, I'm just as a point of order, there's a motion and a second, and you seem to be, Councilman Verona, going in another direction, so I
No,
don't
I'm
know
not
if you want to move to amend the motion, or or you're
I'm-
speaking against the motion.
I'm speaking against the motion.
Oh,
And I'm right on the target of the motion. Now, Mayor, did you want to?
No, go ahead, finish.
Okay. So my thing is, to go ahead and, I make a motion that we go ahead and
So you're
amend the.
gonna amend?
No,
Yes.
now let me talk if you're gonna make a motion then. I thought you were gonna continue talking about it.
to-
First of all,
Wait. I want to
I wanna
amend
discuss what we're talking about
Okay.
first, before you discuss your motion.
before I offer a.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
you've been courteous, I'll be
Okay,
courteous.
well, that's the way it works. First of all, I did talk to Mr. Felix
Mm-hmm,
before I even placed it on the agenda.
okay.
Him and I talked to him in the office, and I told him what my intentions were. So it's not that we just didn't talk to him, I did talk to him.
What your intentions are.
Yeah, no, yes, because I was gonna place it on the agenda.
Yes.
This is my agenda item. Okay? They
I
put
didn't see your name on it.
Well, they
that's
didn't
why.
put my name, but I told them to put my name on it.
But we are a council of 7
Yes,
people.
yes, we are, but I can place agenda items,
Right.
like
but-
anybody else.
But to talk to him, we are a council of 7
Yes.
people that make a decision.
Yes.
Not one person.
No, but I wasn't gonna start talking, on stuff because I wasn't gonna have an open meeting about violation, it's just him and I talking. And I
Well,
talked
I
to him
understand.
about, and first of all, did you guys evaluate him in the past 2 years?
He hasn't been in for 2 years.
How long have you been here?
17 months, isn't it?
Close to 2 years. Has it been evaluated?
We haven't. We told him we would do it before the end of his contract was up.
Oh, so
You realize that the first time that he was here, it was under a different mayor. You realize what was going on.
No, I understand.
You were here when all of that chaos was happening.
Yes, yeah, I understand, but you should have evaluated him. I would
Well,
evaluate him, because we evaluated the previous manager
Yeah.
when we evaluated him yearly. And so
Well,
it should
then
be,
anybody can sit up here and say that, just like what you say with Linda there. If we told him we were gonna evaluate him at the 17 month, that's what we agreed on, especially the 4 people who are here. That was our call, not your call.
no, I
And for you
understand.
to come and tell us and try to
No,
insult
no,
us
no, no.
that we are not doing things
I'm
right.
not insulting you.
Well, then why are you saying, Mayor, that why didn't you do it and I did it this way?
Well, I would have evaluated him if I would have been there.
Well, we are evaluating him and that's a decision we made.
Okay, well, I placed it on the agenda, and we'll just, if you want to make a motion on that?
Yes, I do.
Go ahead, and make a motion.
Well,
Go ahead.
let me make a comment,
Okay.
Mayor, because I was,
Remember, we can't talk about Mr. Felix, whatever it is.
We're talking about the city manager, that's what this is about.
yeah, I'm
Yes,
talking
yes.
about
City
the
manager.
city manager.
Right.
So you trying to confuse me or what? Okay. The city manager, and you're right. I was in the previous administration, but that's how I see it. I mean, there was no promises made. That was something that was brought up as far as evaluating the city manager, but we didn't do it. Now we have a new council with 3 additions to the council, including the new mayor. And so whatever decisions I made previously might be different now, considering that I am in a new administration. So I don't think that I necessarily have to hold to the last one as far as the evaluation, and also because of the time factor here. Now I think, and maybe you said, when was that? In March or February? That you mentioned the evaluation? Is that what you're talking about?
When I mentioned it,
Yes,
we
evaluating the
talked
city.
about it when we
Yes,
originally offered him a contract.
original.
Originally offered him a contract.
But then, was that brought up about 3-4 months ago to evaluate? That's what I'm saying.
Oh, are you asking me to evaluate it? No, I brought
Yeah.
it out here so that we could discuss. I wanted to hear, so that we
Yeah.
as a council could discuss what we want to do. We're not discussing anything here. The decision has been
Okay,
made already.
let me hit on that point. If we're ready to do that. But the motion right now is to go with this and I'll tell you this, and again, going with the city attorney. The city attorney situation hasn't necessarily been taken care of, let's say that. But what we did in that particular situation was basically what we're doing here. He had the option of applying for the position, which is something that's open for the current city manager. And that's basically what we're doing. We're basically going to start looking, and he can apply for that position.
Go ahead, Mr. Jose.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor. You know, I was here also with the previous administration, and it was a great disaster. But I don't remember when we did hire Dr. Felix, that we said we'll wait 2 years to evaluate him. I don't remember that at all. As far as I remember, we should have already done several evaluations on him in the previous administration. So I don't know where that comes out, but I think all of us have talked to Dr. Felix. Well, I think a lot of us have given him what we think, and what we think that he's done well. I'm sure that we've already told him what we think he's done badly. So, but I for one would enjoy for him to go ahead and apply. I see no problem for him applying for the position, right?
Yes.
And again, you know, we'll come to that crossroads when we come to it. Who applies for it, right? So, again, I don't see anything wrong with the agenda item. It was something I think that should have been placed, and the way the whole situation was handled in the last administration, I think, was incorrect. There was, at the time, there was not much to say or not do, but again, I think basically we're moving on. That's what it is, and I would love for Dr. Felix to apply.
Go ahead.
I don't. So we should tell any future city magistrate, city attorney, city managers, we should be upfront with them when we advertise and tell them, we're going to give you a contract for 2 years, or we're going to give you a contract for 4 years. Your contract is just going to expire, and we're not going to tell you if we're going to renew you or anything. You can just go about your own business, and if you want to, you can reapply again.
Well, if we make it a policy.
Well, you can make it a policy.
That's what I'm saying.
I'm just
saying you're putting it out there, Councilman.
Yes.
As that's what
That's
we could do if we made it a policy.
Right, and that's
But-
the worst thing,
Well-
that we're gonna be lucky by what we let him go and all the work that he's done for us, especially with the IOI. He has done more work on the IOI to get us to the point that we are than anybody on this council, independently or collectively, has done to make sure that that IOI issue stays in the forefront for this community. And that's more than $1 million. That's an issue that could financially destroy this community. And this is how we go ahead and treat a professional like Dr. Felix, like that. After he stepped in and made sure that he protected the city, but the most important thing that Dr. Felix protected, he protected our city charter. He protected it against individuals who wanted to take over our government. And now we go and do this. And you were all there to see all of that. And now this is the way we treat a professional people. If we treat a professional person like this, I guess we're bound to treat all of the professional people here. What would be it? Well, we're going to have to advertise for a city manager starting at about $200,000 to $225,000. Just to get somebody to take the risk to come over here and say, well, you know what? Probably at the end of 17 months, you're on your own. And if you want the job again, you have to reapply again. I've never heard of something like that for the top executive officer of any organization. Never have I heard of that.
Were you gonna say
So I
something?
make a motion.
Yeah.
I make a motion
Well,
to
I
amend
was just
the
going to say this before you make your motion.
Go ahead.
Well, and the way I was going to conclude is, we'll do it with our vote. I mean, I know that you painted a light that shouldn't have been brought out. It's not intended to be in that way, but the vote will determine that factor.
Correct.
Okay.
Dr. Felix, how many of the elected officials went into your office and told you to reapply for the job again? The mayor. Anybody else? Nobody else. So, one person. We are a council of 7 people. This is where the decision is supposed to be made. And the motion was made right away of what to do. So, I think there's more to it. I make a motion to amend the main motion to go ahead and conduct an immediate evaluation of the professional performances according to the city evaluation instrument on Dr. Felix before any action is done toward him.
Second.
Letty, be a roll call.
Yes, Mayor, please roll call.
Start with me.
Mayor Medina,
Nay.
Mrs. Lopez,
No.
Mr. Rojas,
Nay?
Mr. Maldonado,
Aye.
Mr. Varela,
Aye.
Mr. Venecian,
Nay.
Mr. Volkes,
Aye.
4-3, not a clear majority. I support you, Dr. Felix, and I want you to know. And if I was in your position, I'd get the hell out of here.
Okay.
Now we have to have the
motion.
vote on the main
Yes.
motion.
Okay, call for the question from the main motion. Letty, roll call.
yes. Producer,
Aye.
Mrs. Lopez,
Aye.
Mr. Rojas,
Aye?
Mr. Maldonado,
Nay.
Mr. Varela,
Nay.
Mr. Venecian,
Aye.
Mr. Volkes.
Nay.
I'm sorry, sir.
Unfaithful and unbelievable.
He said nay.
Okay,
Thank you very much. Item number C. Discussion and possible direction to staff regarding the request from Santa Cruz County for the donation of 20 acres of city-owned property south of Calabasas Park. Do I have a motion?
So
So-
move your,
Second?
Discussion? Mr. Kissinger, are you gonna be the one doing this one, or?
Sure, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Mayor, we received a letter of request from the county manager for the donation of 20 acres of property that's adjacent to Calabasas Park. In your packet, you'll see a map of the 20 acres. The city currently owns, I forgot the number, 420 maybe? Somewhere around there, Mike, if you can help me.
Very close.
We own a whole bunch of land out there, Mr. Mayor, that we acquired from the Wingfield family, I believe, at the time, when we sold.
Wingfield.
Wingfield, that's what I said, Wingfield family at the time, when we sold our CAP water to gain water rights from that area. So that's why we own it. Currently, I believe that the majority of the land that they're requesting that the city donate would be to use for recreational facilities. I believe it's going to be parks, ballparks. I'm not real, I can't remember if it's soccer, baseball, or football, but I'm assuming it's all three. And I give a head nod that is the truth. As I spoke with Mike Massey about this, we thought we would bring this to see if there's an interest from council to make this donation and to give staff direction to go out and explore how we can accomplish that. Your vote tonight would not be actually donating 20 acres at all. Your vote would be to direct staff to go negotiate with them for the donation of 20 acres and any possible ramifications that come along with that. Mr. Massey said that he would like to have a little bit of time to make sure that he researches the purchase of the property to make sure there wasn't any covenants on the property that restricts us from donating or giving it away, and also the more important water rights that go along with it. With that recommendation, staff's recommendation to mayor and council is to give a positive vote to give staff the authority to go out and explore this option of donating it to the county.
Mr. Kissinger and Mr. Massey, my own concerns were only the water.
Right, and that is my principal concern as well,
You
Mr.
know,
Mayor.
I think
Absolutely.
I think it's good for us to help the county out, and especially when they have the park right next to that, and they can make a bigger complex and for the residents of Rio Rico.
And Mr. Mayor, I can report to you that my conversations with Ms. St. John was, at least my initial conversation, they're not interested in any water rights.
Go ahead.
I think the question will be what the covenants say when we purchase that property, because when that was purchased exclusively for the water rights.
Yes.
And the state of Arizona later amended what it was when the purchase was done. So just to make sure that if anything is given away or whatever, that we don't break any covenants or whatever with the
Yes.
state of Arizona.
Right, and there's also, within that property, there are some historical features, archaeological features. And I don't believe it's anywhere close to the park area. It's right around the actual Govavi National Park area. Some historical features expand beyond there. So those are the kinds of due diligence things that we're just needing to do before we can bring it to council in a form that council can take some final
We should
action.
have the ULA do a study too. They do
They've
studies
done
on-
3 studies over
Yeah.
3 separate summers,
Okay,
and so they have cataloged the features there.
okay, great.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
And the county manager, Jennifer St. John, is in the audience, and she's accompanied by Supervisor Manny Reese. And I don't know if you would like to recognize them, for them to come to the podium and speak to the mayor and council about this issue.
Do you want to?
Only if I
Go-
don't get treated like myself.
Like, don't say it,
I
man.
won't say it. I'll keep my thoughts to myself. Mayor, council,
Can I say
thank you.
something?
Yeah, I just want to say that
Go ahead, Supervisor.
I have the opportunity to have many conversations with my distinguished colleagues here on the dais, sometimes on Saturday for breakfast. Even we are on polar sides, but I'm glad to see that Mr. Nabar is becoming a socialist and is voting for socialism. That is-
The trumpeter.
Anyway, Mayor, one of the reasons is we're coming with this request, and I hope you will look at it favorably, is we really do want to have the opportunity to develop that area. And if we have that land assigned to us, and I know that there's some financial considerations too, but we're also looking, we have a couple of parks here in Monte Carlo that if you would require, we would gladly give them to you. One is already has basketball courts, has playground equipment. The other one is that little triangle as you come around. So if you want it, it's ours. You can have it. Nobody uses it,
Thank you,
but you can have it. But
Better than nothing.
what we want to do is we want to create more opportunities for recreation. And one of our ideas is to be able to partner with you to allow the use for the fields. I mean, you have the Little League tournament here. You have 2 fields. We have some fields in Rio Rico that we would love for you guys to use with your tournaments. We would like to do the same thing out there next to Calabasas Park, because I think it's important that as we look for these type of recreational opportunities, it also gives us the opportunity to go and look for federal grants or CDBG monies to be able to really make some nice enhancements to the property, and for all the citizens of Santa Cruz County, the city of Nogales, to be able to participate. So, I hope that there's a favorable vote, that staff is directed. We're willing to meet with you, work with you any way we can to hopefully make this one of many projects that we can partner and work with for the benefit of this great community of ours. So thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, Council, for allowing me to speak.
Thank you, Supervisor. Thank you very much.
And here's some maps if you want them.
Is there any discussion?
Yes,
Yeah, go ahead,
Thank you.
Councilman.
As part of the negotiations, I don't know if Mr. Kissinger is going to be the lead or Dr. Felix, if you're going to be the lead, but I would like, I do support this. I do support the concern of the original purpose of acquiring that property as well as it was acquiring the Meadow Hills Golf Course was for the water rights. But I would also like some viewing in this of seeing what we can do to partner and help you out with your parks and recreation and that. See if you can work something out and bring it back to us, because we have a very dynamic, well-organized parks and recreation director, and I know that we can handle it, and if you can negotiate that, bring it back to cooperation, that would be good. Thank you.
Anything else? Any members of the council? No? No? All right. Call for the question then. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Go ahead.
We're just giving board
Direction.
direction.
Direction, okay. Aye?
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Be excused.
Number 5, events update on city retreat, August 19, 2019, Tucson, Arizona.
Mayor, members of the council, in front of you is the outline of the process for the retreat. The individual that's going to be leading the retreat will be calling you and asking for comments, suggestions in terms of topics to be discussed. You have a calendar in front of you in terms of time period. It'll start refreshments at 8:30 and then start at 9, and we'll terminate at 3 o'clock, or 3:45 or 4 o'clock. And it'll be at the PAG building in Tucson, and then we'll go over to the cattle room for dinner, and then you can go and check into the hotel. But you will be called individually to ask for input in terms of topics and agenda items you want to prioritize.
Okay, thank you.
Mr.
Go ahead.
Mayor, I just want to let you know that I'm not going to be able to attend. I'll be out of town from the 18th through the 25th. So, any information that you give me, any feedback, I'll be
Great. You'll do that.
waiting for it. Thank you.
Thank you. This is the second time you do this.
There's a third one.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, go ahead.
Also on this things, I'm not going to be attending either, because I don't think it'd be beneficial for me to attend. We're not going to have a city manager that's going to be leading the discussion. A city manager that has the power to make decisions, especially with our strategic plan, and make sure that all the directors follow what we come to agreement there. So I don't know what the purpose of us to have a retreat besides wasting taxpayers' money if we're not going to have a city manager there to lead us. So I'm not going to waste my time.
Okay, well, we do have Mr. Kissinger.
He's not a city manager.
Well, but he's been around.
He's
for
not
while.
a city manager. He might be, Mr. Kissinger might be there for somebody to tell him what to do in place of having a city manager form of government. I've worked hard for a city manager form of government. I'm going to stick with that. And if there's not a city manager there, I don't want to waste my time and be involved in things like that.
well-
That's not what the people of this community want.
Well, the rest of the
Mr.
council-
Mayor.
So that's
Go
right.
ahead.
They
Can I
can
make
go.
Yes, go ahead.
I just want to address that, because that's kind of unfair.
That's what I thought of your vote.
No, well, and that's fine. But, you know, Councilwoman Lopez said that she wasn't gonna go,
And I'm not going to.
and that was fine. And if you're not gonna go, then don't go. But
I'm
there's no need to bring in any of the other issues.
I can if I want.
But you can?
Yes. Well, why can't I? Why can't I bring up the issues?
You want to bring up those issues?
Yes, I do want to bring them up.
All right. Then this is what I will say. I will attend, and I will take whatever discussions we decide to discuss on that day. I think that it will be productive, whether we have the city manager there or not. Mr. Kissinger will be there, and whichever other assistants are there, we can take our thoughts for that day and use them maybe in the future. But there's, and you're right, let me correct myself. If you want to say that it's gonna be, but the thing where I come in is, we're wasting taxpayer. Why are we wasting taxpayers' money? Because you're not gonna be there? If you're not gonna be there, then don't be there. But we're not wasting taxpayers' money. And I mean, if we're gonna go to Tucson and waste time, I wouldn't go either. But but it was already said, the day was already set. We talked about it, the arrangements were made. Go or don't go.
That's right. I don't have to go, that's right.
That's right.
Because you can't tell Mr. Kissinger what to do. Mr. Kissinger has no authority to tell any department head what to do.
Yeah, but he's
None.
great at taking notes. You can take notes in that
Well, yeah, but-
retreat,
And he's-
and he does a
and
lot
he'll
of
be
things.
great.
And he's been doing a lot of things
Yeah,
for us.
and he'll be great for you guys to
Okay.
circumvent the city charter too.
Well,
Okay.
you know, this is just an update on an event, so that's.
Anyway, I
city
felt
manager
I had
giving
to
us
say that,
information.
Mayor.
That's fine.
And I too, Mr.
That's fine.
Ross.
Yeah.
That's fine,
I'll
so,
be there.
yes, I'm gonna be there
And the
too,
more
so.
you go to the masses.
Are you
go
gonna
to
be
mass
there,
all the time, you're never
Councilman
there.
Bojorquez? You gonna be there?
Yes,
It's part of my
Some of us
loyalty
will
to
be
the
there.
city.
okay. Now, orders, number 6. Consideration and possible action on order 2019-06-018. Do I have a motion?
So move, Mayor.
I'll second that.
Second.
And Mr. Mayor, the motion needs to include whether you're going to accept the proposal submitted by staff, by the city manager, or the counter proposal from
But,
the
Mr.
union.
Massey, the motion as stated indicates that the recommendation by the city manager is not included. Because we would have to specifically say, that motion would have to say, we are accepting the recommendations of the city manager. As the motion is stated, it is not included, it is not a part of the motion, and I support the motion as it is right now. I do not support the city manager's recommendation. I support to leave the contract the way it is. And it's only for a 2-year contract.
Yes.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, go ahead.
as I
Well,
indicated,
first of all, do I have a second first?
Mr. Mayor, before I go there,
Yes,
as I indicated before the meeting, there was a request to deviate from the way you're taking
oh, communication workers?
they wanted to go first, Mr. Mayor.
Oh,
So I'll
okay.
leave it up to your
Okay,
discretion
let's-
if you would like to change it.
Oh, let's do that before we get a motion. All right, sorry, Mr. Kissinger. We're gonna go to C and then we'll come back to A. Consideration possible action order 2019-06-020.
So move.
Second.
Okay, discussion? Is there any discussion on this one? Yes.
Yep, Mr. Mayor, the contracts as they are, I don't have a problem with. I think in all these 3 contracts, everybody loves to go ahead and go to Costco and buy in bulk. I think there's some areas here where we can actually go ahead and benefit not only the employees, but also the city, if we decide to go ahead and do it like that, right? And I would like to have, the city manager and John here, John Kissinger, to go ahead and come up with the suggestions with talking to them. I mean, they're looking at this. I mean, there is many places where the 3 of us can, actually the city and the 3 of these contracts can get together for each benefit of the city and for each employee. And it would make a big difference. And I brought this up, 5, 6 years ago, and at that time I made the mention of what Bill Gates said was the most important thing he had learned. I'm not going to repeat it, but anyway, that was brought up. I tried saying let's work together on this. I think we can work together again. There's a lot of things we can buy together for the use of all 3 contracts, and it would help them and help us. That's the only thing I would like to go ahead and change. The majority of the contract I don't have a problem with.
Go ahead.
Mr. Mayor, Mr. Genesanos confused me again. What is it on this contract, on this contract here that's come up that you object to?
I don't object to it. What I said was I would like for everybody to work together for everybody's benefit, their benefit and our benefit. And basically that is when we can be out there buying and, like the uniforms, the shoes, the soap, the food, the whatever, that we can get together and the three of us and the four of us, whoever it is, we can get together, buy it in bulk, and the city would control the whole payments, and they would benefit, and I would love to talk to them on their benefit that they would be getting.
Yeah, no,
And
I understand.
that's the only thing I don't
Go
agree
ahead,
with.
Councilman.
Thank you. Now I understand. Thank you for your clarity, Councilman Inician. Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
I don't agree with Councilman Inician's point of view here on this. I think that we need more time for the city manager to have a dialogue with the two unions, even though the union that we're talking about now, they don't have any objections for it being a line item, but that's their choice. If they're dispatchers and they're, what do they call the guys who give out the tickets? Meter maids, whatever part, if they're happy and they want to put it under a line item and the chief of police, well, I yield to them, that's fine. I yield to what they support. But when we have a dialogue on the other two, then I don't concur with Councilman Inician. I am in supportive of leaving those contracts as they are. But I know I'm out of order not to talk about those two. But on this contract, the way it is, that they agreed to that, they agreed to it, fine. I support the motion as it stands.
On this one, also on the CWA, I feel the same way as you, same as you, Councilman Barona. I think this one is they basically accepted almost everything that was asked of them, but it wasn't much. So
No, it's not much, but
you know, but I also I recommend that we approve number C, CWA's contract as is.
Is that, there's a motion and a second to that? Right?
Yes.
Yeah, I did too. Mr. Mayor, I call for the question.
Okay.
Ask for a roll call vote too, Mayor.
Okay, roll call vote. Let the
Mayor,
aye.
Mrs. Lopez,
Yes.
Mr. Rojas,
Aye?
Aye.
Maldonado, Mr. Barona,
Aye.
Mr. Venecian,
Aye.
Mr. Bohorquez.
Aye. Thank you very much. We'll go to A now. Repeat myself. Consideration and possible action of order 2019-06-018.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
Henry, could you please ask for clarification from the city attorney? What a motion, if we just pass this order, does it include what you were talking about? Could you bring some clarification?
Right, and that's a great opportunity, Councilman Barona. I would like to point out and bring to the council's attention that on the action item of this order, now therefore hereby ordered, that there's 1, 2, and 3. 1 is that is hereby adopted and approved for 2 years, and then 2, that uniform allowance and housekeeping allowance is noted as an area of dispute. So as written, that doesn't give closure to what the question of the contract will be. There will be important terms left out unless the verbal motion says, I move to approve this order and answer that question. And the question is, do you want to go with the proposal that the city manager has submitted, or the proposal that the union has submitted as it relates to those items that are noted here in the order for dispute? So, in other words, I move to approve that order accepting management's proposal or union proposal.
Mr. Mayor?
So we need to make that very, very clear.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I make a motion to accept this order and to accept the recommendation of the union.
Second.
Discussion.
Mayor?
But we didn't amend the first one as it was. Did we have to do it?
No.
It was fine? Okay.
Right, but the understanding was
Yes,
that
that-
was not a
that's
change. We're
not
not
a change.
changing
Yeah,
that
yeah.
contract.
Just the same, right?
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
I just want to make, Mr. Massey, Mr. Mayor?
Good, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Massey, I'm confused with these dates that they have here. It says July 1, 2019 through June 30th, 2023. It's only supposed to be for 2 years. I just want to make sure that this police contract, union contract, is
It's
only...
the firefighters.
I'm sorry, the firefighters. Thank you.
Yes, that's staff summary. Mr. Kissinger, can you clear that up?
Yes, I
There's a
can.
conflict
I
between the
apologize.
order.
My conversation with Union President, Mr. Machado, who wants to be heard on this item, by the way, so if you give that opportunity, it would be a 2-year contract. And we'll make the appropriate corrections on the contract and on the order
Well, the order already says 2 years.
to be a
Yeah, I saw that.
2-year
It is
contract. That was my oversight. I was moving back and forth on a lot of issues. Thank you.
How many issues were you moving forward on?
Back and forth.
How many issues?
I don't have it in my head, but quite a few.
Yeah, I would let him talk,
and I
but
know you were a part of
since
it
he
too.
brought a red shirt, I don't know about that. Te va a agarrar un toro.
Possibly. Thank you very
No,
much.
go ahead.
Just to clear things up, to make everything easier, what we discussed is simply extending the current contract. So all the other issues that we previously discussed in this particular order will just go out the window. This would be simply an extension of the current contract with no changes
Mr.
whatsoever.
Mayor?
Yes, go ahead.
Mr. Machado?
Yes, sir.
I'm confused here, Mr. Massey. Then if he's going, what about when we said page 11 section, flashlights were added? That wasn't on the previous one.
No.
So the previous one isn't thrown out. There's some things here more that we're adding.
Right.
Was that included, or do we need to make a motion?
As the order is submitted, those changes are in front of the council for consideration. So this is a surprise
Yeah, that's
to
what
me
threw me
that
off.
Okay,
Mr.
yeah,
Machado wants to just go.
Maybe
with
that was a
Why don't you go
miscommunication.
through it and tell us what you're...
We would like to extend the current contract for 2 years.
Yeah, but you, Mr. Massey, help us.
Well-
What are we voting on here? Does it include the flashlight? Does it include when an employee is required to temporarily assume the duties of a higher ranking, that such employee will be entitled to compensation at the range of the lowest paid employee in the class or additional? Is all of that
All of
included?
those are in
You see,
part
that's
of this
what
order,
you're-
but if someone wants, and that motion and second has already been made, but, so if the mover and the person who seconded want to withdraw it and resubmit what Mr. Machado is suggesting, then that is also appropriate, but right now the main motion is to take the order with those changes and the area in controversy as recommended by the union.
But Mr.
Yes,
Messi,
go ahead.
I think everybody thought we were voting that what was coming up was the original contract. It's the same thing they said, there was no changes.
That's what I
I
have to,
originally-
Mr. Matt, excuse me,
Yeah.
Mr. Massey, I have to hesitantly agree with Councilman.
So you made the motion, Councilman Verona. If you want to modify your motion to adopt what Mr. Machado is saying, you may do so.
Okay, just if Mr. Machado will make clear to the mayor and council what's in it.
Okay, if you guys want to approve the contract that we negotiated without that last clause, we're all for it.
Was it just one clause or several clauses?
all the clauses that
Dr.
are-
Verona
all the-
mentioned a couple.
Okay, all the clauses that are in this order,
So then,
there's a few of them.
it would be to change the dates, or you're gonna correct?
Right,
it?
we'll
The dates
change
we
the
would
date from
correct.
4 to 2.
From 4 to 2, and then page 10, section 10, we agree. Page 11, section 13, we agree. Page 18, section 6, the incentive, we agree. Page 18, section 7, firefighter, paramedic pay upon obtaining the necessary license, we agree. The changing of the dates on page 6, and on page 7, again, there is a change to the dates. Do you concur, Mr. Machado?
Yes,
But are all those things on the original contract?
No, they added some are added.
That is part of the order that has been moved and seconded.
So we're
But
eliminating all those.
what is also part of the order that has been moved and seconded, then if you continue down that staff summary page, it's the part that is proposed by the union and not the part that's proposed by management. That's
Right.
what's in front of the council for consideration, as moved and seconded.
So what's being eliminated then?
The only thing that's being eliminated is management, Dr. Felix, upper management, that are saying that they want to put the housekeeping and the uniform allowance, that it be a line item budget into and under the control of the fire chief. That is what we're being.
And that's what we do not agree on.
Right.
Why would you not agree to that?
That's just part of our negotiations. We voted on that as a union, but that's not something.
If it's to your advantage, and I would have loved to have talked to you about what advantage you would
We
have.
offered to talk to you
Yeah.
earlier.
But you offered to call me at 11 in the morning. You want to talk to me today? I mean,
I apologize about
and the other day when I asked for some information on the building, they sent me 600 pages one night before the meeting, right? Again, like I said, Dr. Barona says, I'm not going to sit there overnight and read 600 pages, right? And today at 11 in the morning, I have things to do. I had to prepare for the meeting today and all that. So that's not legit. That's not giving me any time. I would have loved to talk to you. I've mentioned this before. There's big advantages for you and there's big advantages for the city, and everybody seems to not care what the advantages are, right? So, I would love to talk to you and then, but if we go ahead and okay it, then it's like saying, well, it's gone for 2 more years, right? And this thing should have been, these things should have been corrected 6 years ago. And again, I don't understand. It's to your advantage and to our advantage, and it doesn't matter. So, I don't know why.
Go ahead.
I had the opportunity of talking with 3 of the firefighters. At the beginning, I was the one that questioned I thought it was too much money, $89,000 worth of uniforms. But when I got the explanation about how they're spending the money and how much I've been getting estimates of the cost of the pants and the shirts. So I really think I changed my mind. It's worth for them to manage their own budget on the uniforms.
The individuals.
Yes.
Mr. Mayor,
Go ahead.
I also spoke with a couple of firemen, and I do agree that they should take care of their own uniforms. We can't mistrust them. We trust them with our lives when we need them. So why don't we trust them with their uniform allowance? So I totally agree with the contract that they have.
Thank you very much, Councilman. Go ahead, Councilman.
And I basically, it's a lot of people are looking at this as a money maker and all that. It's a service. It's a service that counts. That we are asking them to put their life in front of the whole community. And one day it could be my house, your house. And that's what we want. We want them to be prepared and be able to do the service in the best capability they can.
Thank you, Vice Mayor.
Amen.
Councilman Rojas, did you have anything to say?
No comments.
No comments, Councilman?
No comments, Dr. Barona. Can you hear me in the back?
Absolutely.
Mr. Machado. Mr. Machado, just to clear something up. Well, Mr. Hanesian basically was concerned and not he's not the only one, all right? We were all talked about it.
That's true.
It's called accountability.
Absolutely.
Okay? It's accountability. That's all.
Okay.
It's important to be able, because I asked you when you're standing on the podium, do you get receipts? You said they have never asked for receipts.
And they never have.
Yeah. So if she started asking for receipts next week, you guys going to give them receipts? Don't do this. Tell me yes or no.
Is that going to make a difference on the vote tonight?
It's called no. It's accountability. It's accountability.
To answer unless we're negotiating.
Yeah. It's accountability. You have to understand that. We're in a position that we have to, like Mr. Barona said earlier, that we're the ones that look after the money. We're the ones that we do it. You depend on our vote too, like
Absolutely.
we depend on your service. So we're not asking for much. We weren't asking. Matter of fact, the presentation.
We'll be more than happy to explain how the uniform allowance is spent.
No, I know.
We
I know how
explained
it's
that
done.
pretty clearly to
I
you.
know how it's done, but the proposal from the city manager to my office had nothing to accountability. He basically wanted to cut it in half. Okay? And I said no. They keep all their money. It's just accountability. That's all I want. And we all talked about it. So there's nobody here in the dais right now that can say that we did not discuss accountability.
That's true.
We've discussed accountability with every department. all right? And it's not saying that we don't trust you, it's that, hey, it's only fair that we know, what's happening, and that's our job.
We'd be more than happy
Yeah,
to.
but
show you
it
guys.
has nothing to do, I mean, basically, like I said, the first recommendation was to cut several things in half, not only for your union, but other unions, all right? And that's not our concern. Our concern is that you receive everything you need to receive to be able to do your job in the best, and we want you to look presentable. We want, as well as the police department, we want it to look presentable. So it's good, for us if you do that. But just remember the word accountability, okay?
Absolutely.
That's all we want, It's like I expect accountability from the city manager and transparency, and from other employees in the city, I expect it from everybody. Okay? That's all. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, call for the question.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
can we please have a roll call vote?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I think we're going to start at that end over there now.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
Mr. Massey, just to make sure that there's clarity, can you
Like
clarify the
verbally
motion? Yes,
explain
please.
what the motion is? Okay, and that's, I'd be happy to do so, Councilman Verona. So what it says is, now therefore be it ordered that the agreement with the International Association of Firefighters, Local 2763, attached hereto as Exhibit A, is hereby adopted and approved for a 2-year period. So the order does say 2-year period. And as it says, attached hereto is hereby adopted. So the attachment is what Councilman Verona went through as far as the changes. Now, item number 2, Section 3, uniform allowance, is being presented to council by via this order as a request to make a decision, and the motion contains that it will be pursuant to what the union is requesting. So make that clear. And then 3, obviously, is that the city manager will be directed to execute that contract as the motion is contained. So that particular section in the union contract, Section 3, will have to be written pursuant to what the motion is currently before the court, before the council, if this motion carries. Is everyone clear on that?
Yes.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, can you start with me?
No, I'll start with Hector. Hector?
Aye.
Aye.
Go ahead.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye. You guys ready? Okay, B, consideration possible action of order 2019-06-019.
So move, Mayor.
Thank you.
Second.
And again, Mayor, if I can interrupt as a point of order, the motion needs to be clear as far as what version that's being before the court so Councilman Lopez, when you move to approve, it needs to be clear Article 6 or Article 11-6 uniform allowance. It's being submitted just like with the firefighters for a determination by the council as part of this order. So if you could make your motion to determine how you would like to say explicitly how you would like that particular clause to read in the contract.
Okay, so then I'll go ahead and do the motion and accept it as number 11-7 as presented by the union.
Okay, 11-6.
Six.
Just to be
11?
very clear.
Yes, it's 6.
Dash
Yes.
6?
6, yes.
Okay, dash 6.
Thank you, Councilman.
There were no changes then?
No changes.
And the council, I didn't see who, I can't recall who seconded, but it, Councilman Rojas.
Yes, I seconded.
As clarified by Councilman Lopez.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, go ahead.
can we hear from Mr. Harriet?
Not really. No, mentiras. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Y ahorita nos agarró el control.
Mayor, Council,
Go ahead.
I don't really have much to say. I mean, we want the checks because we all shop at different places, we buy at different places, we use different equipment, and our needs are just different. It's impossible for one store to be able to meet all of our needs.
Some are light, some are heavy.
Yes.
But, Mr. Mayor,
Somebody get Malita,
Big
brother,
and
shirt.
small is important. I shop at big and small.
yeah, Mr. Mayor,
Yes, go ahead.
Mr. Harrington, but
Doctor.
you do try to provide, shop locally, right?
Absolutely,
Okay, that's the
absolutely,
only-
yes.
Okay. Call for the question.
Roll call,
Oh,
Mayor?
Roll call.
it's just a one-year contract, by the way.
1 year.
Yes, sir.
That's clear.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Kissinger didn't mess up.
Roll call.
Thank you.
Start with Mr. Varona.
Which way, Mayor?
And
That,
go away and then jump back this way.
okay, sir. Mr. Varona,
Aye.
Mr. Genesian,
Aye.
Mr. Gomez,
Aye.
Mr. Maldonado,
Aye.
Mr. Lopez,
Aye.
Mrs. Lopez,
Yes.
Mayor Garino.
Aye. Thank you very much, members of the city council. Okay. At this point, the room's probably gonna empty out. We're gonna have 3 people in the audience. Okay, D, consideration possible action of order 2019-07-030.
So move, Mayor.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. This is legal presenting this. Mr. Massey?
Yes, thank you, Mayor Garino. Legislature loves telling cities what we need to do. And so the legislature in this particular situation told us that if we want to have license agreements with video companies, which we do have a license agreement, it's not a franchise, we have a license agreement with MediaCom, they are now saying you can keep your license agreement, but any future extensions have to be according to their particular template. And they even gave us a template for how the video company has to submit its application. So I look at this as just pure housekeeping. The license agreement comes right from the legislature. The application form comes right from the legislature. The legislature told us that this is what we have to do, so this is what's in front of you. And it's not that big a deal. It's not the fight with the legislature, so my recommendation is to go ahead and just do as you're told.
Okay.
Yes, go ahead.
But it's not, I'm gonna take a different perspective. The Arizona League of Cities and Towns fought this legislation. They didn't want us to control our own right-of-ways. They didn't want us to collect a license. They wanted to take away the power from us and give it to the Secretary of State. We were able to retain all of that through the Arizona League of Cities and Towns. What they were trying to do with these companies is to erode local control for all cities in the state of Arizona. Erode our control so that these people just go lobby and they'll take away everything that we want. This has been before the legislature for 3 years, right? Dr. Felix, this is the 3rd year. And one of the main sponsors is one from senator who used to represent us, that's now in Cochise County. The only thing that we weren't able to keep was the housekeeping deal. Okay, this is the way it's going to be. You can't change this, and it's the same for every city. But we won a lot of it though too, to retain our local control over it. Because they didn't even want, if they wanted to get into our right-of-ways, do you know that if the law would have passed, they didn't even have to ask us for permission. They had the authority from the state legislature to get into our right-of-ways anytime they wanted to. So this has been a long-going deal. We lost some of it, but the bulk of our authority is still intact. That's all I wanted to say. Vice Mayor, take over.
You're in charge, Vice Mayor.
All right, so
Mayor has left the dais.
left today. All right. So no more discussion?
No.
Huh? So take a vote. Madam Clerk?
You want roll call?
Yeah. Roll
Mr.
call,
Lopez,
Aye.
Aye.
Mr. Genesian, Mr. Varona,
Aye.
Aye.
Mr. Maldonado, Mr. Lopez,
Aye.
Yes.
Okay, now we go to item E, consideration possible action of order 2019-07-031.
So move.
Second.
Okay, is there any discussion?
Yes, I think we need, John, could you give us
It's legal then.
an
Legal?
explanation? Or legal, like,
You want to do it, Mike?
I'll do it.
Mike can do a better job
Yeah.
at this.
all right, well, thank God.
This is simply direction to city staff to go ahead and proceed according to law to seek bids on this one, I call it disaggregated, but it's like an island part of a parcel that had been separated from the rest of the parcel since 1963. And we'll just go out and seek bids on it. They won't be binding. What we'll do is we'll bring it back to council in a form with a deed. And so then at that point, the council can decide whether to accept what we would hope for is the highest bid, obviously, that we'll present to you. And then you can either accept it and go forward with a sale or not.
Mr. Massey?
Yes, Councilmember Rona.
Yes, did you already vote on the other one?
Yes.
The vice mayor took over right away. He wanted an opportunity, he walked out the door, and he got his opportunity.
Thank you, Mike.
Mr. Massey,
You're welcome.
Could
You're
you
welcome.
just explain,
And he did a very good job.
Yeah, oh, good.
could you just explain, what is the difference, because we were asked and the newspaper brought this up. What is the difference between the property that we did over here, that we just gave the right-of-ways at no cost, and now we're going out for, what's the difference?
Oh, you just mentioned it, Councilman Barona. One is a right-of-way,
Okay.
and one is a parcel that is owned by the city.
Oh.
Now, a right-of-way, if the council determines that it's no longer useful or needed for a public use, you can vacate it, and then the adjoining abutting parcels meet in the middle by operation of law, and it's done, and it's not a public right-of-way anymore. It can, like what we did the last time, contain private easement. And so that's what we did the last time. So this is not a right-of-way. This is actually part of a parcel that the city has owned for many years. It's a very odd-shaped parcel. The bulk of the parcel is where the Esperanza housing units are located. But it has this really odd extension. And then 1963, the council sold a part of it, leaving a little island all by itself with no legal or physical access to that island. And so now the proposal is that we take that island and we just see if there's any bidders for it, and then, because there's no use for that island for the city, and there's no possible use in the future.
But is there egress and?
What we expect to get is one of the adjoining owners will submit a bid for it, and then it will be incorporated into that parcel, and that parcel has access to McNabb. So it can be used usefully and productively by one of those parcels, but virtually by no one else. There's 4 parcels that border on this. Yeah.
Mr.
So-
Mayor?
Yes, go ahead.
Mayor,
Yes.
I just want to make sure that I make this statement. The petitioner for this is my aunt. She's my mom's sister. And I want to let you know, and Mike can attest to that, I have not been involved in this order or anything at all. I've spoken to
Disclaimer.
the people, nothing. It's all been handled by Mr. Massey.
Right. And all decisions will be made by city council.
Okay.
So there's nothing that Mr. Kissinger can do anyways.
And I don't even know you anyway.
Appreciate that.
So, where are we going with this?
There's a motion and a second, so
Okay.
you ready for a
Oh,
vote?
yeah. Okay, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you very much. Consideration possible action of order 2019-07-032.
So move, Mayor.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. Legal, you're going all over the place.
This is basically in response to some direction that legal received at a previous council meeting to bring this back in front of council. So the order is, I think, very straightforward. The attached letter, I think, is very straightforward. We have 12 years.
And it's housekeeping too.
And it's housekeeping, and so we're doing something, that we have 12 years to do, but we're doing it now.
Good.
You wanna?
Yes, discuss, and let me explain why we're doing it now. The reason for that is I prefer that the burden be placed on Rio Rico utilities, because in 2037, is it?
Yes.
In 2037, there'll be a completely different people sitting here.
What do you mean?
There'll be a completely different group of people here. And what if they forget? And all of a sudden, we need more capacity in the IOI, and we didn't give them this notice. Then we kind of messed up here, and we put people up here in a bad position. This way, if they want to continue it, we give them notice right now. They got plenty of time, all of these years. Then let them come back to the mayor and council at that time to say, you know what, we would like to continue the agreement. We're giving you advice of 7 years. Would you reconsider doing it? And then let that council make it. But so it doesn't fly through here unnoticed, let the burden be on the utility company and not on the mayor and council.
Good. Very good. Okay. All in
Call for
favor?
the question, Mayor.
Good one. That's the one I want to hear. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. The next one, I place this on the agenda, consideration possible action of order 2019-07033.
So move, Mayor.
Second?
Second. Well, discussion, the reason I placed this one on the agenda is because we have to keep our fields, in playing condition. And it's been used before. Ron Turley, it seems like they've used it as a parking lot. I've seen that happen, and I think the soccer people, a lot of them have been in my office asking me that to please not allow vehicles to park in the field. And as it is, we use it for 4th of July, and we allow vehicles to go in there and drop off their goods that they're going to be selling on the vendors and stuff like that. But they move the vehicle out of the field and they go park somewhere else. So my concern is parking vehicles there or having different car shows or whatever that they've had in the past in the field. I think we need to have them in a parking lot or somewhere else, but not in the playing fields. And that's the reason I placed that on the agenda, is to set a policy for recreation to be able to take care of that field as a playing field, not a parking lot. Yes.
Mr. Also, the leaking of oil on the field itself.
Yes.
That would only damage the situation worse.
Yes, we've been having a hard time, and then we're investing money in this one too. As a council, we have already invested, how much was it? Did we invest in Marcel? What was it?
Not yet.
Not yet,
That's
but
right.
I mean, we talked about it. What was it, 100 and what?
80, 70.
170,000, yeah. So let's have a playing field, not a parking lot. Yes, Vice Mayor?
Mayor, I was just going to make a comment, and I talked to Marcel earlier, and I had made, we haven't invested. He hasn't started with any of the investing. And I understand, once we renovate the whole field, definitely it's 100% no parking, and I'm not sure what we're going to do with the 4th of July either. But because then we'll have level it, new sprinklers, and all that's on the works to do it. But we're going to use it for the 4th of July, and like I said, we haven't used it. We haven't started any renovations, so I would just.
Well, we're always going to use it for 4th of July. There's nowhere else to go.
Okay.
Unless you want to use Memorial Park. Huh?
no more
from a
tournaments?
soccer field to a baseball, you take your pick. We're always gonna use a field for, Memorial Park was
No,
where
but-
the 4th of July events were, when I was a
You're
child.
gonna have a dialogue with Nogales Unified School District to use Apache Stadium.
For 4th of July?
Yeah, there's plenty of it.
And we can sell beer
And you
there.
can do, no, you can't.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, there goes the beer.
No, so basically,
I
but
think-
my
I
point
think-
was, Mayor, you know, and I talked to the board of the regional and all that, if we could use it this year and start the no parking once it's renovated. That was my only comment.
That was your comment. Well, let's
That's
take
it.
a vote, and I really don't agree with you, Vice Mayor.
But did you want to make an
Uh,
amendment?
I want-
Yeah, no,
Like-
not yet. Not yet. Don't throw amendments at me right now.
Hmm.
No, the thing is that I placed it on the agenda, and we talked about this. Briefly. We talked about
Yeah,
this.
we talked about it.
And we need to start protecting, you know, the soccer guys play on it right now. As it is, they don't give them a chance to play because if it's not resting, it's being seated, it's been this, all right? Why just because we're not investing on it? So what happens if we don't invest in it next year, the year after? You're gonna be using it as a parking lot anyway?
No.
We still have to use it as a soccer field.
Mayor, I'm just taking the consideration of what we're looking into doing already, and we haven't started, so that, like, you know, to
Yeah, but
make
so
it-
okay, so next year you don't plan to play baseball in the little?
No, play baseball, yes, but not use it as a parking lot, because
So
by then,
what
we'll-
is the difference between this year parking and not, next year not parking? What's the
that
difference?
by next year, we would have had renovated and invested 170,000, and now I want to
So,
give it
but I
back.
mean, why can't you park the cars outside of it right now?
Because there's,
Just because it's not renovated?
yes,
No,
yes,
I'm sorry.
so like,
Well, you know.
can I
let-
do an
let-
amendment
I
to the
call for
motion?
question on this one.
How
Mayor,
about,
can I
how
do an
about a
amendment
call
to the
for the
motion?
question, Mayor?
I call for the question.
Well, he has a motion.
I want to do it,
He wants to
Amendment
do,
to
he wants to do an amendment, Mayor.
All right, go ahead.
like, to amend the motion, to be able to use it, this year for parking, and as of its renovation, then it will not be, allowed to do any parking.
What if we don't do the renovation, como dice, what are we doing here?
Or after this year, no more parking.
That's your amendment.
Yes, sir.
That's the other- The only thing there, can, Mr. Bachelier talk to that amendment? I want to be clear, because I like to be consistent here. And it's very hard with Mr.
But,
Trump here.
you know, the thing about it, okay, go ahead, Mr. Bachelier, if you want to turn it into a parking lot, get up here. Go ahead.
Yeah.
That's what he said. If you want to turn it into a parking lot, tell us about it. Well, he just wanted you to go on the, tell me about it. You want to turn it into a parking lot?
Do I want to turn it into a parking lot?
Yes, sir.
No, sir.
Okay, then.
But I need it.
That's enough, sir.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
And I don't hear a second
No,
on the
have no
amendment.
second, the amendment is out.
Amendment
Right.
fails for lack of a second.
Amendment fails.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah, call
Thank
for
you
the
for the
question.
consideration, though, Mayor.
Yeah.
A call for the question, Mayor.
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it.
I
Thank
will
you
do
very
it.
much.
Thank you.
H, consideration and possible action of order 2019-07-034.
So moved. Second.
You gotta let me use it?
Legal?
Thank you,
You're up against it.
yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I'm asking council to help me out where I think there is some ambiguity in the personnel manual. I think the intent is very, very clear with all of the discussions that led up to the amendment to the personnel manual. However, as written, there is some area of dispute, and I tried to make that clear in the staff summary. Basically, it relates to if you have worked for the city for 10 years and you retire eligible for Medicare, there seems to be some language that suggests that you should also be receiving the subsidy, where that subsidy was really designed to transition those individuals who had been participating in the EBT health plan after 20 years of retiree. And then when the policy was changed that those people had to go to Medicare, to soften that decision, they were given this subsidy. So it really seems like the subsidy is designed for that particular select group of retirees who are entitled to that benefit, and it's not really designed for the other group. And so I put some language in here to make it absolutely clear. So I look at personnel manuals the same way as city codes, the same way as possibly charter. If it's not clear, put it in front of the people who can decide it and ask for some clarity, and so that's what I'm doing.
Thank you very much, Mr. Messi.
Yeah. Mayor?
Yes, go ahead.
I just want to bring up this point, Mr. Massey, when we discussed it, Mr. Machado was there, remember? And there was a stack of changes that were recommended to the personnel manual. This was one of that was in there. And at that time, I hope this previous practice doesn't continue now, because I brought up, because I'm used to we discussing all of the changes in the personnel manual so that the public knows what the changes are about. And I voted 6-1 that nobody wanted to discuss them. They weren't important. They had to run out the door.
Okay.
So, but I hope that we huh?
That was one.
Yes. That's true. So I just want to bring it up. These are the
You could have caught it,
Well,
Councilman Verona, if you had had the time to look at it. So here we are bringing it back up for a little extra attention.
So the point is, you make a commitment, you're going to have to stay here till 2 in the morning. Stay till 2 in the morning.
Where?
Here.
You can stay, Marcy. You can stay.
Especially all of you guys on health.
Get him a television, he can stay overnight.
You see my point, Mr. Massey, that we need to discuss these policy changes among the council, not just give them. Everybody needs to know what's going on. That's what we discuss them. I don't care if we discuss them over 3 or 4 days, but not give them and then on a blanket vote like that.
Go ahead, Councilman.
I call for the question.
I had something else to say.
No more, no more.
I thought you were
done, man.
No more, no
Thank
more.
you, Mr. Mayor.
So it's all right,
She was
Councilman
done.
Verona. All right, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. You opposed? No? Okay. We got one more, and this is for finance. Jeanette. Consideration possible action of order 2019-07-035.
The policy is being handed out. I apologize, I didn't realize it wasn't attached to the council order when I prepared it, so. It's not too detailed, and this is just to be in compliance with a state statute that was recently approved, that we had to have this in place by July 1st. And this is just saying that you as elected officials, that you are aware of the unfunded liability that the city has for fire and police pension, and that in the future you will have a plan in place to address the unfunded liability.
Now, this is, I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, go ahead.
This is an unfunded liability as to what year? What are we talking, what year are we on this?
Through June 30th, 2018.
Oops, I'm sorry.
But this didn't happen the last year. This didn't happen the last 3 years. How long is this 31 million of unfunded liability accrued?
I believe it's just been accumulating as long as the city employees have been participating in this plan.
So if I can be very quickly, and I think if Mrs. Barales can correct me, basically the legislature says that all of the unfunded public safety retirement has to be addressed in the next 20 years. In other words, you take that, you can have a graph and it goes out for the 20 years, and you can see what's funded and what's been promised, and then you have the problem, which is what's unfunded. And the legislature says you're going to fund it one way or another in the next 20 years. And so what staff will do is bring back different options to council you can invest more money early, you can invest it over a few period of time, or you can just sit back and wait until our ratio that comes out of the PSPRS trustees in Phoenix tells us that our ratio is going to go from 60 to 70 to 80 to Bisbee's got over 100. And so that's because their unfunded liability hasn't been addressed. And so it makes operating budgets obviously very, very difficult. So what they're trying, again, another direction from the legislature is telling you as council to adopt the policy which tells the staff to bring back the problem to you so that you can make decisions. So hopefully some decisions, some money being thrown at the problem, so to speak, early will avoid more dollars having to be spent later on. So this is the policy. It's a very straightforward, good policy, but what it indicates is staff is going to be bringing back some decision-making opportunities to council to determine how you're going to address what the PSPRS trustees are perceiving right now. This is just an actuarial type estimate. And as decisions get made down the road, that unfunded liability can increase or it can decrease. But the idea is it's going to be in front of you, you're going to be asked to make decisions, and those decisions should be made, early as opposed to later.
And
Did I say that correctly, Mr. Prowse?
Yes. Go ahead. Where are you going, Councilman?
Well, I was gonna step out, but if you're gonna vote, I'll stay.
No, we're not gonna.
Whoever wants to help you.
I'll hold this till you get back.
Here again, there's a Proposition 106 in the city of Phoenix because they're really struggling. And my conservative friends over there have told me that, they're going against this proposition over there in Phoenix for the same reason what we have here, because the unions of police and fire are saying, we've got young police officers, and in 20, 25, possibly 30 years if they stay on, they may not have these funds available for their retirement. So they want to make sure that every city is putting in their money so it becomes funded instead of unfunded, and that they start getting better returns on the savings that they have of these funds. It's unfortunate, but here again, where we're at, in 20 years, I don't know if we can do it, but that means that Dr. Felix is going to have to start taking money from other things to start putting it in. That's what you're saying.
Right,
Now,
and for example,
on the budget, we're going to have to start taking money from other things that we're looking at and putting it into that.
Yes, but one more, it does help a lot that the stock market is way up. And a lot of this money is in the market.
Yeah, a lot
and
of
the
it.
interest is
the only
going
thing
down.
that's saving the country.
Interest is going down too. You buy a car.
It's a trip to Mar-a-Lagos and talking to murderers.
So should we wait for Councilman Rojas?
No, we go ahead.
You sure? He's the one that calls for the question. Come on.
Así me dijeron contigo. Vámonos, let's vote.
All right.
I would like to add that we did engage with a firm that deals with this and that will be able to help us strategize and present the best funding strategy to address this problem. So we'll be working with them, and they will be able to give us different options.
Well, the part I liked is what Mr. Messi said, you're going to be bringing this to us every so often.
Yes.
So it's not going to go away.
Well, and it's all difficult. It's just
very
unfunded liability, and it's just how do you spread the pain? So suppose, but it's for the employees who are hired before 2017. The legislature, or actually the Constitution was changed so that the retirement for those employees hired after 2017 is not quite as beneficial as those prior to 2017. So that's why this is a problem within the next 20 years, and we need to address it for the next 20 years.
But the ASRS, which is the one you're on, is solid. solid. That's the one the teachers are on. It's doing well, the returns are well, and it's completely funded.
The returns are well, it's in the
Yes.
market.
Yes, it is. They invest in the market.
Hey, Bart.
It did very well under Obama.
Donald Trump.
Get in it, Ubar. Get in it, Ubar.
Call for the question.
I was waiting for Mr. Rojo.
Did we make a motion?
Yes.
Oh, you did
Yeah,
make
I
a
was waiting for your
Who made the motion?
I don't know.
Who?
Condición, and you seconded.
Oh, okay. All right. I just wanted.
Okay, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Number 7, Mayor and Council's report on current affairs. Let's start with you, Mr. Bojorquez.
I attended the NALEO conference, and it was very informative. This is the National Association of Latinos Elected Officials, and there was people from all over the country, and their main concern was the
Axel,
tariffs.
you're leaving,
and-
Axel?
You're going to the same place.
Marcy's invited us to the Chiquita later
I
today.
was just wondering, Axel. 'Cause you always say goodbye. That's why I was
Axel,
saying.
good time. Good time. Thank
Go
you.
ahead, Nick.
I needed some help.
They talked a lot about economic development and tariffs and the census. Of course, you know, when they had that one question about the citizenship. And then I attended the other conference in Phoenix, the AMC. That was also very informative, and it was also one of the main topics was tourism and economic development, and it had a lot of information and
Great, thank you very much. Councilman Vanessian?
I give Councilman Corona here some more
The
time.
floor?
Yes, I let him,
Thank you for yielding your time.
yes, yes, yes.
First of all, Mayor, I really enjoyed going into Nogales, Sonora, Mexico to attend the 4th of July celebration with the American consulate there. I've never been over there to the house and everything, but it was very nice. It was just a great opportunity, especially for networking. I like how the consulate staff gave credit to you, Mayor, for the cooperation with everything, and it's always good to keep saying it. The more partners we have, the better off we are. And it was just a wonderful activity, and everything turned out very nice there. I also attended the NALEO conference, which I thought was extremely well. They talked about the 21st century global, the national leadership. They talked about the census, and the one that was of great interest that we attended was one called Tariffs and Trade Wars, Challenges and Opportunities in Looming New Trade Deals, Aftermath and Cost of Recovery. And there we got to meet some interesting people. We got to meet a representative from Florida, Representative Susan Valdez, and the Florida Chamber of Commerce Director of International Strategy of Policy, Alicia Anaconda. I'll tell you this, Alicia Anaconda, I would love to have her as an economic development director here. God, is she sharp. Just sharp.
you have $300,000.
Yeah. And during the guy who was the moderator for this session was, I didn't get his name, but he's a member of the state legislature, and he was involved in the White House on trade, national trade, under the Obama administration. Sharp person, just really sharp.
Must have been a good thing.
So I asked the question there that people have been complaining to the mayor and council about the suspension agreement here. So I asked him, I've been getting this complaint, but I quite don't understand it. And could you explain it to me? And the moderator from the state legislature in Texas started talking and defining what dumping was to make sure everybody understood what dumping was. But what was interesting to me is that he said, before he asked the lady from Florida Chamber of Commerce to talk about it, he says, And this suspension agreement, what is that pendejada about? And I'm saying, well, wait a minute. And he said, I don't know anything about it. Well, how could a guy in trade that's involved in the state legislature on the border not know about it? So, what's going on in the 2,000 miles? I mean, we're talking about it here, but what good does it do if we're talking about it here if the rest of the 2,000 miles is not talking about it? I mean, sometimes they jump on us, but all of these people should know about what's going on. Well, the lady from Florida explained it very well. But here again, I was caught off guard. She says that, well, the tomato industry there is very small, and they're very upset with us because we agreed with the new NAFTA, and since they weren't put on there, they pulled out of our organization. But they're very small, and it's like they're irrelevant. And I'm saying, so what's going on over here? I mean, we were all there paying attention and everything. But Mayor, it's just that we kind of get things here, but we can't do it by ourselves. The 2,000 miles wasn't included on this. And they constantly, say, well, sure, Mel, so what if somebody signs a letter the day before and sends it? Well, nothing happened, you see, and we need to find out if when we get faced with these issues, we got to make sure that the 2,000 miles along the border know what's going on. That's what I like about this thing that you started, about that mayor's deal and all of that. Because the more partners you have, the more you spread the word out there, and that's what helped us. So it was very good. I also, for the first time, NALEO hosted the NALEO Presidential Candidate Forum. And that there were only one of us didn't go.
I know who it was.
Yes, that's the one. But I've never gone to one. It was very good. I enjoyed it, and it was an experience that at least I got to talk about. And I will tell you this, they're really high on gender, power, and leadership.
You did tell me it was too long.
Yeah. Yes, it was too long.
And very uncomfortable, wasn't it?
And no, it was uncomfortable because you weren't there.
And you learned a lot, right?
Mayor, would you please, not to interrupt me?
Yes, Mr. Hanesian.
But it was
Point
good,
of
Mayor.
order.
I thought it was very well. We got a lot of things. We did a lot of marketing. And I will say that Councilman Rojas, Councilman Maldonado, especially Councilman Bojorquez, they go to all of these sessions. They do very well, and they market. And he just went to the Republican table. That's all he went to.
Did you do some networking with the Republicans though?
He was just talking about Trump all day long.
Okay,
But it was good, Mayor, and it was
Probably
good
did
because
go
everybody
far.
talked positively about our community, and I just felt very good about it.
That was great. Vice Mayor?
Yes, Mayor, thank you. We were both, I was with councilmen at the same events. Basically, yesterday was a great event in Nogales, Sonora. The one thing I did bring back from the nail is we do have to work on the census. That's going to be a very, very, very important thing that we got to do, and do what we got to do to record. I asked them to see if they could come and give us a presentation of the do's and don'ts that the city can, through legals. There's a lot of little things that we can't do. They're gonna let us know and try to come and give us a little presentation, because that's, I think, big for the city.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Councilman Rojas.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Mayor, my comments are, I concur with all the things that were said. I went to all of the same events. I didn't know I had the honor of going for the first time. Are you hearing this, Dr. Radona? I didn't know I had the honor of going with you for the very first time to the council across the board.
Yes,
I'm
that was
glad
my first
that
time.
you had a good time.
Yes, first time. I wasn't invited before.
And it was a very nice event. I had gone previously, but I got to rate this one was way up there. Other than that, that's all I have, Mayor. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilwoman.
Yes, I'm still working with estimates for the Christmas event that we're having. I know it's early, but it takes time to get everything on time. Getting estimates for the carpenters, and I'm working on that. On top on that, I talked already with a Mexican consulate, and we're working toward the Fiestas Patrias event. And then I attended an event at the Consulado Mexicano, and they gave us more or less an idea of all the opportunities they're giving at the Consulado. They're giving English classes. I mean, it's arts, crafts, promoting citizenship. There's so many things doing at the Consulado Mexicano that we have to really take advantage. And yesterday I was able to talk to Mayor Puyol regarding the DIF donations. Still, they have no agreement with the aduana, with the Mexican aduana. So they are getting donations, but they're sending trucks every once in a while to just bring things across without it really declaring it.
Okay.
So that's about it.
Thank you very much. Well, I'm gonna make mine really short. I attended the AMC conference, which was a great event. Actually, it was extended for one day, but the good thing about it that a month prior to me attending it, I got the opportunity and a phone call from Tucson and from Phoenix that they wanted me to be part of a panel, and they wanted to talk about tourism and economic development. But when we got there to speak, and I was part of the panel, the agenda, I think, was changed, and it was the challenges of tourism on the border. And you know, it seemed like there was a lot of that going on at the AMC. They were talking about challenges about that. But the good thing about it, that the three mayors, Mayor Uribe from Douglas, Mayor Jerry Sanchez from San Luis, and myself, we were all together. It seemed like we had talked about it, but we hadn't. We all had the same issues about the wait times. They're hurting just as bad as we are. As a matter of fact, I think San Luis is hurting worse. It's worse for them economically. And so we talked about that, and we had a good moderator, Felipe Garcia, who was one of the persons that helped in my administration with Aaron White to bring the movie Hangover 3 to Nogales. He's the person, one of the persons that was, so it was a great event. And then I went to the ports and transportation, and I wasn't going to speak on that when I was sitting in the audience, and it was a room full of representatives and also staff from Grijalva's office and other congressmen and port people and stuff, and they asked me to speak. And at that one, what I did is I actually supported San Luis and Douglas, because San Luis has a port project that's way advanced, more advanced than anything else, and they need support from us. We have our ports done, even though we do need a feasibility study on Decancini, but I backed them 100%, and also I backed Douglas on that, because they've been waiting to get a feasibility study done on their port. They're financially strapped. I mean, both we're doing a lot better than they are, and I talked to both mayors, and it's rough along the border. So, like Councilman Varona mentioned, what I wanna do is I want to talk to all the mayors along the border of Arizona, because, and Mr. Varona mentioned something right now that is key. In 2012, when I was mayor, I was asked to participate with Mayor Cook of El Paso to create a Border Mayors Association. And we had a meeting at the U of A, and we got the mayors, 17 mayors from San Diego all the way to Brownsville. So there's a Border Mayors Association right now. And you mentioned right now that there was concern about nobody knowing about the tomato suspension. If that Border Mayors Association was active, they would have been drafting letters and bringing their voices to that problem in Washington. So I think it's not working because I talked to other mayors and they haven't been active at least for the past 4 years. So I don't know why. So what I'm proposing to the mayors is mayors from Nogales to 60 miles north, from Douglas to Yuma, we need to make an association for ourselves here, for Arizona. And I want to put that packet together and see if we can do it. I want to talk to you about that, Mr. Massey, so that we can maybe have a conference of mayors here, because we need to be a strong voice in Washington for our state. If Texas and California do not want to be part of the Board of Mayors Association, Arizona should be, but it shouldn't be the three of us, San Luis, Douglas, and Nogales. It should be from here to Tucson. Have the mayor of Tucson, have the mayor of Wilcox. Kind of like the SEGO, the Southern Eastern Arizona Government Organization, kind of like that, but taking it all the way to Yuma, to that PAG over there in COG. So if it works, I talked to Mayor Nichols of Yuma. He supports it 100% because we're all hurting right now. And I believe that 60-mile buffer zone is the same. If we hurt here, I'm sure Tucson is hurting too, financially. Not financially, but I'm sure they're losing sales tax also with the problems that are happening right now. So that's where I'm going with this, and it was very positive. That's why I'm sorry for some of you that were here earlier that I was a little concerned on the rhetoric, because we are working for economic development. You heard them all say the same thing, and it's tough to do this. You need to bring a big force to be able to do one small thing. So we're going to continue doing this in Nogales.
Very well stated.
Yes.
Very well stated.
Yes, thank you. And then in the event yesterday, where they asked us, the council, Virginia South asked us if we could take the trolley. If you only knew, it took us a week and a half to get an insurance. Nobody wanted insurance. And we, Mr. Kissinger, got to the point, I told him, I said, tell her we're not taking it. And she goes, no, come on, it's a theme. Because that was a San Francisco theme that they had for the 4th of July. So finally, Mr. Kissinger and staff were able to do that. So we took it over there. We all represented over there. And we did a lot of networking, talking to our counterparts in Nogales, Sonora, and it was very good. And there was people, Mayor Murphy from Saguarita was there. So, all these people get together and you can make things happen. So that's good networking. And on the census, I just want to say that my wife and my staff, they're working on that, and we're going to continue working on that so that we can get counted. We're going to try our best to get as much. We don't want to lose one body, because we're losing one body, we lose money from the state. All right? We get our funds per capita. So the more people we have, the more we get in return. We don't get our funds of how much we send. We send millions of dollars because of Nogales, Sonora to them. And sometimes I've talked to some legislators and talked to them and said, you know what, can't you see the numbers? And they go, yeah. They see the numbers. So you think the people in Nogales generate all those sales tax? It's the people from Sonora. So, but they don't care about that. They're going to send us for 21,000 people what 21,000 people need. So they don't count the 500,000 people, 500,000 in Nogales, Sonora. So I'll continue working on that, and hopefully the members of the council, we can take something like that to the legislators so they can maybe not only do it for us, but for the rest of the borders. They probably have the same situation. And I want to invite you tomorrow, 4th of July, the event. It's going to be great. We're going to have a parade at 10 in the morning, and it's going to start on Morley Avenue behind Nelson. We're going to stage there, come on Morley Avenue, and go north to Memorial Park. That's where it's going to dissipate. And then the event at 4 o'clock, from 4 to 11, music, food. It's going to be great. So you guys, let's continue working for Nogales.
I have a question. Do you still have applications for the parade?
Yes. We have
the Little League 8 and 10-year-olds just won district in going to state up in Douglas. They won 7-5, so they just text me they wanted to participate.
You want to take them?
Yes.
Yeah.
And they'll have two vehicles with the kids on the back.
Take them on the trolley.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
Want to take them as a trolley?
We'll take them.
Yeah, do that. Why not?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, they're basically 17 total, 14 kids and
Oh,
3 coaches.
Perfect, you can take them in the trolley.
The air conditioner works well.
That's their
Have
problem.
John arrange it.
Yeah.
Ahorita.
Yeah, and I heard that Dr. Bonanno volunteered to drive us.
He has a commercial license.
Mayor,
He has
before
a
we
commercial
take
license
off,
and it's insured.
I like to put
Está
future,
bien. Yeah, that Valita says we can take them in the fire truck.
No, better take him, better him in the,
Yeah.
And I just want to see if it's possible for the September meeting, Councilman Rojas and I have to attend a mock conference, and it's difficult. Can you consider to make it the following Wednesday? In September. It's hard, it's hard.
It's gonna be hard for me to do, because I've made a commitment that we're gonna have meetings when they're supposed to be held. Okay, it's gonna be hard. No, that's all right, but I'll do it for Councilman Rojas, though.
Okay.
No.
There's your answer, Dr. Balona.
No, that's all right, let's do it for the following Wednesday. All right.
Are we under future agenda items?
Okay, future agenda items.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
I just want to make sure that we meet the legal timelines for the charter changes. I was in agreement, I know you passed it out already, I just want to make sure we don't miss that for November.
To comment on that?
Well, you can't.
Yes.
Well,
You can't under future agenda. It has to
no,
be-
no, it's going to be on a future
Okay,
agenda.
yeah,
It's going to be on a.
And then, Mayor, we still haven't anything on the veteran supportive city that I'd like to talk about. I don't know what's gonna happen with the compensation plan, and I asked the fire department to go ahead and talk about the incident at the Mesa Fire Department where they found out that a firefighter died from cancer that was located right there in the Mesa Fire Department. I've been waiting for the report to make sure that we're not endangering our firefighters there. That was done. Then whatever happened to Mr. Rodriguez, Mayor, that he was going to come over here and he still hasn't showed up. He wanted something on the building permit and all of
Yes.
that. That's the other thing.
Yes.
And then another cost savings, Dr. Felix, is the trash pickup. You know, all the cities are going to that. And the other thing is that we haven't talked about on the agenda, Mr. Massey, is what I brought, court safety. You know, that it's really a big liability down there, and I wish that would be addressed before something happens. Also, we spend a lot of extra money, Mayor, on body cameras, a lot of extra money, and I've noticed nobody's come up here, Dr. Felix, with a policy on using body cameras.
Yeah.
And nationally, we see that something happens, they have body cameras, and then they shut them off. We need to have a policy for their what you like in your administration, transparency. So if we're gonna spend this money, I'd like to have a discussion on the policy on the body camera uses. Also, Dr. I'm still getting complaints on those garbage trucks. Can ADOT come in and do an inspection on them so we make sure that they are safe? And if we could have a discussion, Dr. Felix, bless you,
Bless you.
on providing, some of the employees, I said that previous administrations, the city manager took away short-term disability from the employees. You know, that's important when somebody gets hurt, that you have short-term disability. And I'd like to make sure that we can offer it for that, if we can do that.
Okay.
The last time I requested a report from Terrace Avenue and I never got it, so that we can have it in the next
Okay.
meeting.
I know that I talked to Juan Guerra, because I also asked for it, because of your suggestion, and I talked to Eduardo. They're having a hard time finding it.
Really?
Yes. They're having a hard time finding it at Public Works, and but it's documented, because that's how we got the grant.
Yeah.
That's how we got the 500,000, so it's gotta be somewhere. As soon as they find it, we'll make sure we'll bring it up.
Perfect.
One more thing, Mr. Mayor. One is, do I need to put it on the agenda to approve the trolley for the For the umpires on my parade for the
No, because we
regional?
haven't set policy yet.
Okay.
Once we set policy, then we're probably gonna have
All
to,
right.
yes.
And then if we're getting far away, we talked about using it as a shuttle.
You can use the trolley and you can use the other shuttle. You can use them both.
Okay, thank
Yeah.
you, sir.
You need to talk to Mr. Kissinger
I will.
about that, okay,
I
so
will.
they can
And
schedule
Dr.
that.
Verona
Thank you.
will ride both.
Yeah.
Thank
Yes.
you,
Okay, so are we okay?
Yes, sir.
This meeting's adjourned.
Thank you.
Jorge, Jorge.
Done.